protect themselves in the event of an earthquake.
You should know how to drop, cover, and hold on, and evacuate.
That's Stuart Moffitt, the director of the Emergency Management Division at the University of Utah. He says that an earthquake warning comes when the ground starts shaking. At the U, they do their best to send out campus-wide warnings, but they can't give advance notice. That's why being prepared is crucial. He says that along with knowing a safe spot to take cover and hold on, it's smart to keep an emergency preparedness kit with you that includes food and water. Reagan Edelman, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says the leaders of Israel and Lebanon will hold face-to-face peace talks today. It'll be the first time the leaders from both countries have met in person in decades.
Despite the hopes for an end to these wars, Israel again bombing inside Lebanon today, saying it's attacking Hezbollah targets. And overnight, Israel's Security Cabinet making no decision on a ceasefire there, despite U.S. pressure. What we're hearing is the possibility of direct talks between Israel and Lebanon, possibly involving Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Aoun. So far, no confirmation from Israel.
ABC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Pannell reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is off 33 points at this hour. We're at 48,430. We've got a storm making its way toward us here along the Wasatch Front. We'll check KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hey folks, Jay Broadbent here from Alpine Home Medical. I've been helping folks breathe easier for 29 years now. Trust me, at my age, I know a thing or two about needing a good night's sleep. Is your CPAP mask old and nasty? Are your masks, filters, or tubing from the pre-COVID era? Or just plain tired of the hassle of ordering supplies yourself? Switch to our resupply program. We handle everything, automatic shipment straight to your door, insurance billing, and expert support. It's quick, easy, and keeps your sleep therapy on track. Doesn't matter where you got your machine from, anyone can join. Head to alpinehomemedical.com, click on the Easy Resupply button. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. And here's Cormac Bone.
Well, it looks like we're still looking at these crashes. The first is on the on-ramp to northbound I-15 from 7200 south. They're blocking a right shoulder there. We actually see southbound delays, though, on I-15 there at the south interchange. And then northbound I-15, we're seeing some slowdowns starting near 4500 south and reaching up to the I-8201 interchange. This is because of a crash that's transitioning from northbound I-15 to go eastbound I-80 there in the Spaghetti Bowl. They are pretty much blocking that on-ramp there, so a lot of the delays have spilled onto main flow I-15. We've also got delays eastbound on the 201 freeway approaching the Spaghetti Bowl due to that same crash. Homeowners, Gillette Services is putting $1,000 in your pocket with a rebate on new installations, and you pay nothing until 2027. Call 385-GET-HEAT for your free estimate. Comfort now, pay later. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We've got rain on the way. It should get here a little after noon, and we might have some showers, well, off and on through 5 o'clock this afternoon is what the forecast looks like now. And then we'll get some snow in the valley in the wee hours of Friday. Friday's high will only get up to 48 degrees, but it should clear out in the afternoon. Right now it is 48 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Wow, what a week. We started it with two national congressmen, one Democrat, one Republican, maybe many as two Democrats and two Republicans in the state, in the U.S. House that have been expelled or will be expelled as a result of some trauma. Now we have some locals. We have Democratic State Senator Nate Bluin, who's confronting some fallout from a past social media post. Republican lawmaker Trevor Lee facing some allegations from a former employer. Both are in the midst of the election season. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with Nate Bluin, and it was not just one social media post. It was multiple over a series of years, but he made some posts that were pretty offensive, and they surfaced. It was a Punchbowl news story yesterday, but he has apologized, but he made some pretty crude jokes about women, about sexual assault. He said that members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were the worst part about living in Utah. He joked about sexual battery and porn and filming underage porn. I mean, not very good.
Yeah, you kind of wonder how he made it this long without that being exposed. I mean, he's a state senator. That's certainly a prestigious position, and he certainly had opponents as he's run several times. Now he's running for the new open Congressional District 1 seat. He's number 2 in terms of the polling so far behind Ben McAdams. He's done very well. He's received some really impressive endorsements, including Bernie Sanders, I think.
Yeah, and AOC.
Yeah, right. But now he's got this coming out. I would say this. Those comments are inexcusable. They are something that absolutely shouldn't have been said. And I'm not going to say but. However, maybe that's the same
that's
thing.
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He was a kid. He was 20 years old.
Well.
And it doesn't matter. And he's, to his credit, he's fallen on his sword. He has accepted responsibility. He didn't dodge it. He didn't say, this is a political hack job. He didn't say anything except, I was wrong and I did some bad things. Now, the next step is, what are the consequences of that, Nate? And of course, a lot of Utah lawmakers and prominent Utah Democrats are saying, you're done.
Yeah. And, look, he wasn't just 20. It was, like I said, a series over about 6 years from 2009 to 2015. But yes, I think you're correct. What happens next? And I do want to applaud Senator Bluin for apologizing. I think that's an appropriate action. He didn't blame other people. He said he was horrified at those remarks. But he does have people, including Mayor Jenny Wilson, who are saying, look, basically, I appreciate his apology, but I don't believe he should continue to serve in public office or seek election to Congress. So that, to me, says he should drop out of the race he's currently in and resign from the Senate.
So I was thinking, and you corrected me a little bit on this, that it would be he would be in trouble at the state convention, which is 2 weeks away, week and a half away. But you indicated, I think, that he's gathered signatures, so
Yeah.
he's going to be on the primary ballot unless he withdraws.
That's right.
It's probably, I've seen also, in addition to some people asking him to withdraw, I've seen some people who had previously endorsed him, including another member of the House, Grant Miller, who said, hey, I can no longer endorse this man. And Grant is a criminal defense attorney. Talk about a person who spends his life in the forgiveness world and trying to make things right. But he said, look, this in your current position, you just can't serve, and you can't continue to serve, and I can't endorse you. I think the Democratic Party as a whole came out with at least the elected representatives of the Democratic Party statewide have come out fairly strongly against him as well.
So you also have people who say that he took accountability for the posts that he made. He apologized without making excuses. That tells you everything about how much he's grown in 17 years. So, I mean, I have a couple of questions. One, why didn't he delete his social media account before he ran for Congress? But I mean, I guess it's, for me, I see hypocrisy on both sides. I see it when people on the right point fingers at somebody like Nate Bluin, who's a Democrat, and say you should resign immediately and drop out of this race. But they're totally silent when things happen on the Republican side, including all the way up to the president of the United States, right? They're silent on that, or they say it's not that big a deal, or I don't care, or I like the good stuff that he does. And then on the left, you have the same thing, that point fingers at the Republicans and say, you are horrible people and you should resign and you should have the 25th Amendment applied to you. You should be taken out of office. But it's okay on our side because he apologized. I mean, at some point, for me, it's like, if you're going to hold a standard, then hold the standard. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
And I think that elected officials, I think it's fair to say that they should be held to a higher standard. And yes, there's forgiveness. Yes, people do grow. And yet there's also accountability, and sometimes that involves some pain.
Yeah, and I tell people this, you can write something you wouldn't put in a letter, you shouldn't put in an email, because it's preserved. It's not like speaking and saying something you think it's going to go away. Boy, once you put it in writing, even on an email or a post or
Social
something
media,
like that,
yeah.
it exists forever.
Okay, so the other story that broke is about Trevor Lee, who is a Republican, and that is, there's two Utah businessmen who are accusing him of misdeeds. Jason Walton, who owns Moxie Pest Control, says that when Trevor Lee worked for him in 2013, that he altered checks to give himself additional money as an employee. And he has admitted to that. But the other businessman said, hey, look, I understood that for a generous contribution, right, for this amount of money, it was $93,000, that Trevor Lee would push government contracts towards this business owner, and that didn't happen. And so he's calling it an abuse of power. The business owner, Trevor Lee, says, I never did that.
So he owns up to the check altering, and you'd think, okay, that is a crime. It's a forgery. It may be a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the amount of the check. But it was 13 years ago, so there's a statute of limitations problem. It doesn't mean it didn't occur. It doesn't mean that it didn't involve what would be criminal conduct at the time. That's pretty serious. Now, the more serious one to me is the recent allegation that he abused his power. That one he has denied. We are hearing that House Speaker Mike Schultz is looking into it, or at least the legislature is going to look into it in some capacity. And I suppose they have no choice, given what's going on with both parties.
Mike Schultz says the allegations of this nature involving a sitting legislator are taken seriously. And Trevor Lee called the allegations a hit job. And he said, kind of like Nate Bluin, he said about the checks, he said, that's something I did as a stupid college kid. I paid my debt. Jason Walton said at the time they decided not to pursue charges, but if he had to do it over, he would. So,
yes, so you wonder why now, but I guess things come up and they decided to bring it up.
Well, it has to do, I'm sure, with elections.
Right.
However, I think it's an important conversation to talk about when you run for office or when you're in office. You need to know that everything you do is scrutinized.
Yep, absolutely, as it should be.
Okay.
Held to a higher standard.
Now, I saw this breaking story. This is another political story, but this morning it broke that former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax fatally shot his wife and then shot himself with their teenage kids in the house. We'll talk about that when we come back.
911, tell me exactly what happened.
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
The podcast, Cold, has gone deep on these kinds of stories.
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
Clearly, something happened on that couch because he cleaned it.
Find and follow Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
I guess I should turn on my microphone. You know, Holly, ever since I got out of college, I've weighed almost the exact same. For 40 years, I weighed almost the exact same. All of a sudden, I turned 60, and I gained 5 pounds. And then I gained 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. I got to almost 30 pounds, and I thought, I need to do something because I can't lose the weight. I heard about Sota Diet Nutrition, SOTA. I heard about it on this very station, and I thought, I think I'll give it a try. I'll see what they've got. They've got food, they've got coaches, they've got people that get you lined out. I've been on the program now. This is a true story. A week and 2 days, and I've lost 10 pounds. Now, I don't know how that's going to translate to a month from now, but I'm extremely happy with the results we're getting now. The food is great. My wife is on board. She's even changed the menu that we're having at home at night so that she can accommodate me. She, of course, doesn't need to lose any weight at all, but she's helping me, and I think I'm on my way to getting this done. I have to say, Sota has been wonderful. Their people are very supportive, and I would just say this, join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime. It's absolutely true. Sota, SOTA.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store. Put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
You deserve a home that's truly your sanctuary. Why are you waiting? Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen helps turn someday into today. A space that works and feels like you. Because design and build live under one roof, your remodel experience stays organized. From the first discovery consultation to the final walkthrough, with one team from start to finish. You deserve a home that you can truly be happy in. And that's possible right now. A clear, structured timeline keeps guesswork out of your kitchen or bath project, and it starts with your budget and a fixed price. Then the detailed plan begins with smart and stylish selections, so you know exactly what to expect. Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen is built on integrity and customer focus, and that shows up in the little things, clean job sites, and proactive updates that keep you fully in the loop. Back nationally and 3 locally owned Wasatch Front locations. Schedule a consultation at dreammaker-remodel.com. That's dreammaker-remodel.com. Enhancing lives, improving homes. dreammaker-remodel.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
It's a scenario, Holly, that we just hear far too often in this country, and we learned again this morning that former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax shot and killed his wife and then turned the gun on himself in an apparent murder-suicide in their home in Annandale, Virginia, according to police officers there.
So I saw this news break this morning, and it's just awful. And in the hour plus since I heard about it, I also learned that their 2 teenage kids were in the home at the time, and it was their son that called 911.
Yeah, Fairfax County Police Department is indicating that just after midnight, Fairfax shot his wife several times in their basement of their home, went upstairs to their bedroom, shot and killed himself. Here's Kent Davis with the Fairfax County Police Department. He's the chief.
From what I understand at this early stage, former Lieutenant Governor Fairfax was recently served some paperwork associated with an upcoming court proceeding. That apparently led to this incident last night. Both of their children, teenagers, the boys older than the girl, were in the house when it happened. So that's horrible news for the family. Certainly a traumatic event for those children to live through.
So I guess just reading between the lines, being an attorney, he was served with papers. And if they're divorce papers or a protective order or something like that, you wonder why they were still in the same house. And there's nothing inappropriate about that. But once you make that decision as a couple, it's sometimes better, especially given the shock of that, to separate for a little while. I'm not blaming the spouse at all. She's absolutely not at fault.
So some of the news reports are saying that his wife filed for divorce last July, actually, and that they were still in the same house but in separate bedrooms. I mean, if you've got a big enough house, maybe, I don't know. And it's just there's a lot of cameras inside the house because I guess the relationship got pretty acrimonious. And in January, Ms. Fairfax called the police. Mr. Fairfax called the police and said that his wife had assaulted him, but the police said they couldn't find any evidence that was true. He was only 47 and was, again, an attorney, but the former lieutenant governor of the state of Virginia. Just, for me, it's just shocking.
Yeah, and so it's really troubling just because, I don't know, Holly, it just seems like we hear this too often. And it's kind of that old, if I can't have you, no one will attitude that men and some women have, which is to say, look, they've been married, they're happy, all of a sudden it's not going well anymore, and one of the parties, almost always the man, says, look, if this ain't going to work out, you're not going to live anymore. No one's going to ever have you. And that's the worst possible attitude you can have. And I can't say enough about the tragedy of this, given that their teenage children were both home at the time.
So talk to me a little bit about the impact on kids from your experience from the legal side. So they're with their grandparents right now, but it seems to me like this will probably have a lifelong impact.
Yeah, I mean, there's always second guessing, even as a teenager. Like, should we have done this? Should we have got mom and dad out? Should we have been more protective? And of course, the kids have no responsibility at all. But that's the first reaction you'd have as a child, especially an older child. Like, hey, we knew there was a problem. We should have got mom and dad apart from each other. You hope that they don't have to live with that, and that they've got other family members. It's encouraging what you just said, which is they're with a grandparent or with someone else who's in the family, so that the continuity in the life and lifestyle and maybe their schooling and everything can continue. But you have to think about that as well. I mean, how would you feel about going to school the day after this occurred, knowing that the entire student body knows what happened? I mean, you don't move, you don't change your life drastically, and hopefully the community will gather around them, and hopefully the student body will gather around them, and hopefully there will be counselors in place. I mean, the school year's about over, which is fortunate. I would hope that maybe they just vacate the rest of the year and then pick it up next year after they try to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I would never assume that somebody would say, hey, you just had this horrible tragedy, so we're going to keep life as normal, go back to school.
What's interesting, so he shoots his wife in the basement several times. Then he has the wherewithal to walk upstairs to his bedroom. They were sleeping in separate bedrooms, and then kills himself. I mean, I know this will sound weird, but so what's going through his mind during that walk? He's just
my guess it wasn't a walk; it was probably a run.
Right.
And as I understand it, look, I'm not an expert like you, but there's something that happens with your brain chemistry when you're involved in this type of violence. Like you're for sure not thinking clearly. You got a ton of adrenaline going, and it sounds like he probably already had this planned that he was going to kill her and then kill himself.
Yeah, I just wonder why the change of location.
Because I guess he doesn't. I don't know.
Doesn't want to be near
I don't know.
her or something like that. You also. I'm sorry to cut you off. He used a firearm.
Yeah.
Probably a handgun. Those are so loud, especially inside a dwelling, that you wonder if the kids heard something.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did, and that's why they called.
Made it worse.
Yeah. So it reminded me of the story that I read earlier this week about the man in the Elko Regional Airport Monday. We found out as things unfolded that it was his own son that he shot in a bathroom, the airport bathroom, and then left him there. He wasn't dead, but died later. And then he shot himself by a ticket counter. And it's a father-son murder-suicide, right?
That is extraordinarily rare. I mean, the husband-wife, boyfriend-girlfriend thing happens more than we'd ever want. But I'm not aware of situations of a parent-child murder-suicide. That doesn't happen. I mean, you kind of wonder.
It has happened. It's happened in Utah. Yeah.
Sure. It's just so rare, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's rare. And this person, he was trying to hide his son from his family and from his mother, the child's mother. And he, it says this is an article I'm looking at. It says their rental vehicle broke down, and so they were towed to Elko. He had previously served in the military. He said he had post-traumatic stress disorder, and I don't know what would make a person decide. I guess the same thing. If I can't have you as a parent, your mom can't have you either.
That's exactly it. We don't know the circumstances of this, but I have seen these situations where a child is killed by a parent to spite the other parent. To say, look,
so awful.
I know, no. It's
the Susan Powell case,
absolutely,
actually.
Yes. Like I'm going to hurt a child. I'm going to hurt you to spite the other person, and that happens all the time. And again, in another situation, how more devastating can you hurt a spouse, a mother, a parent, than to kill their child?
Mm-hmm. So
even if it's your own child, that's what's just so ironic about it.
So yeah, we actually have a series of unhappy stories to talk about today, including genocide. But there's also hope. So I do want people to know, though, that there's a National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline in the United States. You know that you can call or text 988. There's an online chat, 988lifeline.org. In Utah, we have the Safe UT app that people can use, whether you're a veteran like this man in Elko was, where people can call, text, reach out, and get some help, because these are just absolute tragedies.
Yeah, and we talk far too often on this show about situations of domestic violence, violence in the home. It's a situation where we have police officers involved in police officer shootings, where they have to take action. We have situations where one party is killed, children are killed. I mean, these you think about murder as some bad guy coming to a house and robbing a house and killing people, but I would say the majority of homicides in this country, and I'm just guessing, are acquaintances. They're people that know each other and that maybe have had a very, very healthy relationship at one point.
I think one of the things that shocked me about hearing about the former lieutenant governor is that these types of situations, I guess, stretch across all kinds of social strata, right? They had, certainly they were both professionals. He was an attorney. She was a dentist. He'd served in the very highest levels of government in the state, right? And yet they still died by murder-suicide. And it's not just people struggling with finances, and it's not just people who, don't have a strong support group because clearly they had family around them.
Right. Well, a couple of tough stories to talk about. We have something really exciting and good news after the break, and that is that dozens of Utah prison inmates marked a major milestone this week, and I couldn't be happier personally about this. earning college certificates. After the break, Ensign College will be in studio to explain how this program works. We've talked about it a little bit and how it's changing lives of those who are incarcerated. Stay with us after the break. We have some fun news to talk about.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. We're going to see some snowfall along the Wasatch Front later today. Forecasters say we should start to see the storm roll through in the late morning, early afternoon, but showers could linger into the evening in some areas. And while we'll take any water we can get, this storm is not going to be able to do much to combat the ongoing drought, other than saturate the soil for a little bit.
Anything is better than nothing, even if it's just moistening things up for a little bit. That will help out some.
That's National Weather Service meteorologist Nick Carletta. All of the state is now dealing with some level of drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. Nearly 60% of Utah is in extreme drought, including much of Tooele County. The Utah Division of Water Resources is asking people in northern Utah to wait until May 15th to start watering your lawn because of the current drought conditions. But we've already been hearing complaints about people using large amounts of water. The division spokesperson Michael Sanchez says there is a place on their website where you can report water misuse.
Don't want to be too shamey about people, but we also want to recognize that we don't need to water right now.
He says the state does not enforce water rules, but they do pass the complaints along to cities who can then decide if they want to act. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Wall Street Journal is reporting the Trump administration reached out to Ford and GM before attacks started in Iran, asking if they could be ready to use assembly lines to make weapons and other military equipment. ABC's Christian Cordero has more from Washington.
The goal was to tap into the company's workforce and factory capacity to ramp up production. Meanwhile, another 10,000 U.S. troops are expected to arrive in the Middle East by the end of the month. The 2-week ceasefire with Iran ends next week.
The Trump administration says they have a history of working with auto companies, including during the pandemic when automakers made ventilators. Your money at this moment, the Dow down just 7 points, now basically unchanged. We're at 48,452. Coming up, we've got that storm headed our way. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. Let's talk conventional versus FHA loans. Both offer cash-out refinances up to 80% loan-to-value or LTV, so which is best for you? It's kind of like Uber and Lyft. I always compare the two before booking a ride. Conventional loans don't have mortgage insurance under 80% LTV. However, the rates and costs get higher with lower credit scores, cash out, and high LTVs. FHA loans always have mortgage insurance, but the rates are lower, they don't penalize you for cash out and high LTV loans, and they allow for higher debt-to-income ratios. FHA often results in lower payment even with mortgage insurance. We can analyze your situation within minutes. Call us today. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
Progressive knows you want to get away, but not like too away. You crave the unknown, but also charcuterie boards with 4 types of cheese. And that's exactly why you bought an RV and bundled it with Progressive, because 24/7 protection is one luxury you'll never have to give up. So go ahead, explore the wilderness, all from the comfort of your zero-gravity camp chair. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurance. Not available in all states or situations.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing, starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
I'm Congressman Mike Kennedy. For years, Utah families have paid too much for health care, groceries, and everyday essentials. I'm fighting for health care reform that puts patients first and lowers costs. I'm also working to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington because your tax dollars should be spent wisely. Fiscal responsibility means lower costs and a government that works for you. I'm Mike Kennedy, and I'll keep fighting for Utah families. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. And back to you, Cormac.
We have some southbound I-15 slowdowns approaching the south interchange. This is due to a crash that was blocking the left lane and is now blocking the right shoulder. And it looks like they're pulling away as we speak, so hopefully those delays will start to clear out soon. And we otherwise see just normal slowdowns all across the Wasatch Front, especially in Lehigh. Eastbound Pioneer Crossing still slow in that construction zone. That starts near 7800 West and it reaches over toward I-15. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're going to see some rain and maybe even snow in the valley this afternoon as this storm moves in. We're at 46 degrees right now downtown, so we've come down a bit from earlier this morning. Tomorrow's high will only be 48. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I have to say, I have some great news, and we have in studio with us a couple of people from Ensign College, who Holly will introduce in just a minute, but we are hearing that 54 Utah prison inmates marked a major milestone yesterday, earning college certificates through Ensign College.
And super exciting, actually, information, and I think it's... I think we're just really lucky to have him come talk to us about it. So we have Ensign College President Bruce Cush and Megan Rice, who's the Director of the Prison Education Program with Ensign. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for having us.
First to you, President Cush. Tell us a little bit about this. I know when you came on our show last time, you kind of teased it. So tell us what happened yesterday and how this got going.
So we actually began in the fall of 2024 teaching inmates at the prison out by the airport, and we began with basically a pathway introduction, and then we once they finished that, the prisoners were eligible to begin studying in certificates that we're offering, either in project management or small business management and entrepreneurship. And so yesterday was our first official commencement with them, where we awarded certificates that these 54 inmates had earned. Megan, 47 men and 7 women.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, President. Megan, can you tell us how inmates are informed about this and how they become involved in it?
Yeah, one of the most exciting parts about our program is that we're trying to find a spot for as many people as want to participate, because we're an online program. It's also one of our biggest hurdles is trying to deliver online programming in a corrections facility. So the students are able to participate, are able to apply, and it's open to anyone, even though we're sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it's open to anyone who's residing out there. Like any church education student, they receive an ecclesiastical endorsement, and they also receive a scholarship. As part of that scholarship, they are required to attend worship service and an institute class with 80% regularity. What's really great about those requirements as well is that gives them extra productive time. So they get awarded productive time for being in an education program, but then they also get extra hours a week for participating in those 2 events. So any student that wants to be part of our program applies, and those are the expectations of maintaining eligibility.
Wonderful.
So what made you think that, hey, we should expand in this way? Because Ensign College is already reaching students all over the world. What made you say, hey, we should go out to the prison?
One of our strategic initiatives is to serve those who are underserved on the Wasatch Front. That's one of our strategic priorities as a campus, and they're right in our backyard. President Cush had a vision many years ago with President Don Clark, who is the ecclesiastical leader over the Utah Department of Corrections, to bring in a program to serve these inmates. And there are already really great education programs out there. We hope to be a value add and operate a little bit differently than they do, but also connect students to a higher power, which is a really powerful data-driven recidivism reduce.
President Cush, I just have to say this as an attorney who's practiced law in this state for 44 years, that one of the biggest problems that I have seen with the prison system is the fact that they do a good job of housing people, but ultimately those inmates are coming out. They're going to walk out. They're going to be back on the street again. And if they don't have tools, if they don't have something to go to, they often go back to their old lifestyle. So I know this doesn't sound like a question. It sounds more like a pat on the back, but I can't tell you how much I and members, I think, of the criminal justice system appreciate what you're doing. So, I mean, this is something that obviously, since they're getting certificates, they've been involved for some time, but you've got others in the system, others that are working toward degrees as well, right?
Yes, and one of the things that we were thrilled to announce to them yesterday is that they were thinking that earning a certificate from Ensign College was the end. And it was fun to announce that beginning in the fall, they'll be able to start earning, working towards associate degrees and eventually a bachelor's degree. And so our new 3-year degree works out perfectly for them, the accelerated degree. And so we're just really excited, and I think those that were there were very excited to hear the news too.
So they got certificates yesterday in either project management or small business and entrepreneurship. What type of training is that going to allow them to do if, say, they were released tomorrow?
Those two certificates really have a lot of foundational business principles in them. Ensign College is really, under President Cush's stewardship, keenly focused on job readiness. So when we talk about small business and entrepreneurship, there's something like 400 small businesses in the Salt Lake Valley. So even if they don't start their own small business, they could be employed with a small business and have all of these really foundational skills, human resources, basic accounting, project management within both of those certificates. Elevating their digital literacy. A lot of them have been incarcerated for many, many years, and they're approaching release, and we're getting them acquainted with spreadsheets, computers, AI where possible. That digital literacy is an important job skill that is really missing for them as well.
President Cush, were friends and families invited to this?
Friends and families were.
I can't imagine what that must have been like. Will you just tell us?
So one of the prisoners that spoke, one of the men spoke, and he began by saying, "I haven't seen my mother for 9 years, and she's here today, and she's never heard me speak." And he gave one of the most eloquent addresses that I think I've ever heard. It was so touching. But there were, I think probably of the men, maybe half, I think about half had a family member or a guest that was there. And I think most of the women had someone that was there with them, and it was just touching to see. They were allowed to give hugs and a little peck on the cheek, and so everybody took advantage of that, and they took pictures, and so we had the inmate there with their guest and a picture, and then it was a real celebration, and it was a beautiful thing to see. It was a beautiful thing for those receiving the certificates. But you can imagine how the families also felt to see a son or a daughter achieving something that they didn't think was going to be possible.
Right.
So we only have about a minute until we take a break, but I wanted to ask, with these certificates, are the associate degrees and then bachelor's degrees, are they going to be in the same areas, or are you going to go a little broader?
We have a stackable degree structure. So we have these basic certificates or these entry-level certificates that they start with, and those stack into an associate's and bachelor's degree. Our associate and bachelor's degree that we approved for our prison project is in business management. So when they start with these certificates, they'll then funnel into that single track of completion.
And they'll be able to get the bachelor's in 3 years.
Yeah.
If they're able to do full time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's another plus about our project being online is these students end up being quite transient, right? Even while they're housed with the Department of Corrections and then when they get released. So if they get released, and we have a few students who have been released, they are still able to continue because this is an entirely online program. So even if they get released to North Dakota, which one of our students did, we can still help them continue on that track. We're not tied to any one facility.
Wonderful. Okay, we're going to continue this conversation when we come back after this break, but thank you so much for being here.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor, wherever you get your podcasts.
I've always thought I could regulate my weight, and in fact, I've always done that until I got to age 60. And then no matter what I did, no matter what I tried, I continued to gain weight. And it was embarrassing because I've always been fit. I've always been running, cycling, skiing. But the pounds started gathering, and they got to the point where I couldn't put my suit on anymore. I couldn't put my wedding ring on anymore. So I contacted Soda Diet Nutrition, the first diet program I've ever been on. Others here at the studio talked to me about it, said it works. The food is great. The coaching is great. You get a nutritionist who calls you regularly. I have to photograph myself on the scale, looking at what I've lost and where I need to go. My first week alone, I lost 9 pounds. They tell me you expect 3 to 5 pounds a week. I lost 9, so I'm 3 weeks ahead. It's been a wonderful program. I want to continue it. Like I say, you have support. And what I really needed was just some direction. I just needed someone to tell me what to do. Soda Weight Loss. Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime. SOTA.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and there's a good chance you've heard me talking about our free furnace sale. The one where you buy a new air conditioner and we give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it, about $400. Well, we still have a few more spots on our schedule we need to fill, so I'm extending the sale, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Definitely no later than April 30th, and once I think our schedule's full enough, I gotta pull these ads, so don't wait too long to call and schedule your free estimate. The main reason we do this sale is to give you an incentive to help us keep our guys busy when the weather's mild. And thanks to your help, we're able to keep our guys and keep growing. So if your furnace and air conditioner are ready to be replaced, you owe it to yourself to at least schedule a free estimate and get all the details about our free furnace sale. Just to recap, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000.
$61,000. When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be.
With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Inside Sources.
We're continuing our conversation with Ensign College President Bruce Cush and Megan Rice, who's the director of the prison education program with Ensign. And they just had graduation yesterday, 54 graduates, so congratulations on that. And we had some more questions, so thank you for staying. Megan, I want to start with you just by asking, is this program, is it only at the prison, the new prison out like by the airport?
It's not. It's actually at both. It's actually at both the prison out by the airport, which is called the Utah State Correctional Facility, USCF, and then we're also in Central Utah Correctional Facility, the facility down in Gunnison. So we have about 80 students down there and 220-ish out by the airport.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. Are you thinking of maybe expanding this outside of the state of Utah?
We don't have any plans outside the state of Utah at this point. At what we've been approved to do is to work with these two prisons. It would really depend on requests and then the resources and infrastructure and things that would be required. But
Okay.
We could certainly help someone if there was an organization. We could certainly help them with organizational things and how we've organized it here.
Are the instructors, Megan, the same instructors that normally teach at Ensign College, and the students are getting the same level of instruction? But you indicated that it's mostly online, so they're still in the facility, and they've got a laptop or computer or something in front of them, and they're hearing the lecture, and I assume it's interactive as well, right?
Yeah, it's an asynchronous program, so everything that they need as far as instruction tools, materials, assessments like that are available to them on both computers and the tablets that they have. They have these like little Android tablets. Our teachers are able to interact with them on the secure messaging platform, and then every once in a while they go out and visit them in a study hall capacity as well. But like most online students across the world, it's an asynchronous program.
Can you tell me just about like the mentorship? Are they able to have teachers give them additional support? Do they have mentors within the prison program or within the prison system?
Yeah, so we're modeled after the BYU Pathway Worldwide model, where they start with those three, we call them professional foundations courses. They're really like college prep, and that's the most synchronous requirement of our program. So once a week for 1 hour, the students in a cohort gather together, and it's facilitated by a volunteer couple. We call them cohort mentors, and they are with them for 21 weeks straight, and they're helping them work through the nuances of being in an online program, reintroducing them. They're all pretty much non-traditional students, right? They're not 18 to 22-year-olds. And so they're helping them become acquainted. They're teaching them some pro-social skills. We're talking about ethical dilemmas, moral character, all of these things. And that couple stays with them for those first 21 weeks. And then they graduate into their certificate levels. And then we have a couple cohort mentors who kind of serve as like a student success advisor beyond that to kind of help them along the way. And then they're also connected to their teachers in that capacity as well. So they get a lot of
that's what I wanted
support.
to follow up with President Cush for. So what kind of placement do you have, or what kind of resources do you have for them once they graduate? I mean, the degree is a huge thing. It's a monstrous thing. But do you have other groups that are helping them look for jobs or look for things to do once they get out?
We have a career services group at Ensign College that will help, and there are others within the support system that will help these prisoners when they're out find jobs. In fact, some of them actually employ inmates once they're out in some construction jobs and some other things. So, yeah, we're very committed to helping them find good jobs when they leave. And it will require us finding the right kind of employers that understand what the experiences that they've gone through and their readiness to go and come back into society and really make positive contributions.
Megan, can you tell me what kind of support has your program seen from the Department of Corrections?
The Department of Corrections has been a really important partner in helping us solve for yes. Doing an entirely online program within a corrections facility has a lot of challenges, and they have been a really key component at each step to help us figure out how to both deliver this asynchronous online content to our students, but also help scale our program and help support them in really remarkable ways. We have required the Department of Corrections to change their mind about a lot of things, and to their credit, they have really worked towards helping us implement this program. We just don't operate in the same way that other higher education partners do.
So, Megan, given the newness of the program, it just started in 2024. Obviously, you're not giving PhDs yet, but it's a certificate. But then some of these people are working toward a 2-year degree, and some are working toward a bachelor's degree. So we can see some even more results in next year's graduation. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So we just got that. We had to get the associate and bachelor's approved by both our internal Ensign processes, our accreditor, the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities, and then also the Utah Department of Corrections. So it was really exciting that we could announce to these students at graduation yesterday that all of those hurdles were approved. And so these first graduates will be the first ones eligible for that associate's and bachelor's track. And we're hoping, too, that will motivate some students to apply that otherwise might not have applied to be part of this program.
So you mentioned that you have a couple hundred students out at the prison close to the airport. You had 54 graduate yesterday. How many can you handle at a time?
We can handle up to about 300 at any given time. That's kind of the level that we've been at. We would love to be able to serve more, and we hope that the day will come when we might be able to do that. In 2025, we served a total of 464 inmates combined, with over 1,000 enrollments, meaning they were those almost 500 enrolled on almost 2 courses each as they went through the program. And there's so many more that would like to do this, and so if we can find the way, the funding and the support, we'd love to be able to serve more.
And I was just thinking about the funding, and I don't need to know anything personal, but these inmates aren't able to pay tuition like Holly and I did, and you all did. I mean, there's got to be some way that Ensign gets compensation for. You're putting so much work into this.
Yeah, we've actually used some scholarship funds that we have at our discretion to be able to provide the tuition for them. And we'll look at other funding methods as we go forward, particularly as the enrollments grow. But that's what we've done in the early stage.
Well, the Department of Corrections and the Utah legislature needs to stand up to the plate. I'll be there if you ever need some help.
Okay. Yeah, it's really important to understand the students aren't able to pay tuition well, and going the route of Pell funding and federal financial aid is really hard. So we're really grateful for the scholarship money that we've received for our students.
So we're almost out of time, which is crazy. But can you talk briefly about how this type of education really impacts recidivism?
Yeah, so connection to a higher power is something that comes up often in studies of recidivism. Recidivism is the rate at which people return to prison. So that's one of the unique aspects of our program, is that we're offering overt spiritual instruction as part of their educational experience. The other things are meaningful employment, mentoring and peer support, connections to their community and church, and education, right? And so if you look at what our students are experiencing in this program, they are hitting all of those 6 pillars of recidivism reduction in I think really positive ways. And one of the things that is amazing to see is our students are getting a better understanding of how to see the world, how to move through the world, and how to make better decisions in a more moral, ethical way. And we bring a lot of hope to them as well, which is really powerful.
President Cush, we got about 30 minutes, but tell us what
30 seconds.
Tell us what good news we have for tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we will hold commencement exercises in the Tabernacle on Temple Square. We are awarding over 5,000 degrees and certificates to 3,800, almost 3,900 graduates. A lot of those graduates are online students around the world and that won't be with us tomorrow, but we anticipate having about 400 students and their families filling the Tabernacle in a great celebration of commencement joy.
Good for you. I couldn't be happier. This is such good news.
That's really incredible. Look, when we come back, we're going to talk about genocide. Why President Trump said an entire civilization would die. So we've been talking about that, and just today, there is a symposium about genocide and the role that faith can play in stopping it. Stay with us for a special
KSL
segment.
FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Breaking moments ago, President Trump says Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire. The president made the announcement on social media and says the truce would begin at 5 p.m. Eastern today. He also says the agreement follows excellent conversations with Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. A new study is looking at the best time to exercise.
Exercising at any time of day is usually pretty good, but we now know it has a direct correlation to your blood sugar. A new study in the medical journal Trends in Endocrinology and Metabolism says exercising later in the day is actually better. It can keep blood sugar at bay, and exercising first thing in the morning can increase blood sugar and impair insulin responses. The study also says that our bodies are on a clock, and exercising later can help jumpstart it and keep it on track. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
An update to a story we told you about earlier this week. The San Juan County Sheriff's Office says they have found the truck of a missing hiker. David Engler headed out by himself this past weekend and was supposed to be back Sunday but never returned. The Sheriff's Office says the truck was found in a remote part of the county and they are now focusing the search in that area. Your money at this moment. Right now, the Dow is up 97 points. We're at 48,561. Coming up, rain turning to snow. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Your best years aren't behind you. They're right here at Trio South Ogden. Discover independent living services that embrace aging as an opportunity to lean in, not step back. To pursue passions, not retire from purpose. Here, life is bright, colorful, and unapologetically fun. Move in, thrive on, because aging doesn't mean changing who you are. It means having more time to be exactly who you are. Schedule your tour today at triosouthodden.com.
Imagine all that could happen in 5 years. Jobs change, kids grow up, new memes come and go. But what if you had reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Well, thanks to the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to your devices that need the most, that finds and fixes any issues before you even notice. It's like a super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats. You get incredible gaming speeds on multiple devices and no one battling for bandwidth for the next 5 years. All your devices will be working in perfect harmony with the equipment, with no annual contracts, no fees, and no strings. So even though your kid will grow up and you still won't understand 6, 7, the price for your sharp, reliable internet will stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion. Totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU, love where you bank. And here's Cormac Bone.
Roadways have really calmed down in the midday drive. There's no accidents, but we do have a little bit of southbound I-15 slowing in Draper just after 123rd South approaching Bangor Highway. And otherwise, it's normal construction delays, a touch of slowdowns northbound SR 36 in Lake Point, but eastbound Pioneer Crossing in Lehigh, that's heavy and slow as you try to get onto I-15. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
A cold front is arriving, bringing a quick blast of rain turning to snow over the next few hours. Then there's a chance we could see some lake effect snow early Friday morning. But once the storm moves out, we get a warm up with temperatures back into the 70s by Sunday. Right now, it's 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So we have, I think, an opportunity to have a really important conversation. We saw the president post about a week and a half ago that an entire civilization will die. And then people started saying, is he threatening genocide? And what is genocide? And it turns out that we actually have an opportunity today in Utah for a symposium about genocide and disrupting genocide. And we have two guests with us in studio that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, so we have with us Rachel Miner, the founder and CEO of Bellwether International. And we also have Jenny Lloyd from Utah Global Diplomacy. Thank you both for being here.
Absolutely.
So Holly mentioned something like something about what is genocide. And I think we all have an understanding of what it is, but we all think of the bigger picture. But Rachel, talk to us about how it starts and what happens and how a culture gets to that point.
Genocide is a real buzzword right now. People, particularly since October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel, the word genocide is more in the political language, it's more in the cultural language, more than it's been in the last 10 years. And so I think, you mentioned people know what it is, but I'm not sure actually if people know what genocide is or where it starts or its distinction. So let me touch on that briefly. Genocide is a distinct crime. It is a form of violence that targets identity-based killing, but it can also include mass displacement, mental harms, kidnappings, disappearances. Genocide is a term that was created by Raphael Lemkin because he felt like the crime of homicide was not strong enough to describe what happened to Armenia and then what happened in the Holocaust. Genocide is a crime distinct and on its own. So in addition to kind of identity-based violence, identity-based extermination of a group of people for their nationality, ethnicity, race, or religion, it's also distinct because other forms of violent crime are not always predictable. We can't predict political coup or a civil war or even a war of aggression. But genocide is 100% predictable because it takes so many years to actually plan and architect, which quite disturbing if you think about, genocide architects thinking about how are we going to exterminate an entire group of people. But it's also where the hope lies. This kind of genocide ideology, the campaigns in mass media to say this group of people is less than, starts 15 years before mass killing does. That's what all of our economic data shows. So there's actually this huge lead time where if we start hearing genocide ideology in a cultural lingo or in a political language saying we're going to exterminate this group or this group doesn't belong or we should hate this group because we're seeing the early warning signs of genocide, and that's when a society should start responding to those red flags and thinking very seriously about the crime of all crimes, the most serious human rights abuse that exists in the world today, and that's genocide.
So, Rachel, a couple of questions, but one is I sometimes hear and see online that people say, well, even though I'm saying that they should be killed or they should be gone, it's just words. Can you talk to me about that?
It's never just words. So genocide can be very comparable to a deadly disease. There are some deadly diseases that have very high mortality rates. So if we're seeing early symptoms of the flu, we're going to respond differently than if we're seeing early symptoms of Ebola. And genocide is one of those deadly diseases. When we see language around genocide ideology, this group deserves to die, this group should be exterminated, or an entire civilization should disappear, or in the case of Rwanda, it was the dehumanization of an entire group. They're cockroaches, they don't belong. This is early symptoms that cannot be ignored. Yes, genocide takes time to develop and escalate, but those early warning signs are fatal, and the mortality rate for genocide ideology is high.
So what you said just makes so much sense. I had never thought of it that way. But when you talk about 15 years, it's because, I guess, it takes a while to desensitize society and to create that dehumanization, so that something that would, like the Holocaust, you would think, who would ever put up with that? And an entire nation did, because of this dehumanization and this buildup, correct? And that's why you're talking about the disruption.
That's correct. And it starts with the dehumanization is the earliest warning sign, but then that's matched with economic suffering. So I'm a trained economist. That's where all of my formal education has been. And we know that all genocides start with prolonged economic suffering. And what happens is that you get a pairing, you kind of get this timber. The groundwork for a fire in a forest starts with what's already laid. And that's what happens in society. You get, the language around dehumanization, and then you get economic shocks. Before the Holocaust, Germany was in a massive recession. And Hitler did not come in and say, we're going to kill the Jews. He came in and said, your economic problems are because Jews are not to be trusted. And so we see this pairing of dehumanization with economic shocks and struggles. And that combination is where then we start to see the plans of genocide unfold. So when we think about any country in the world, every country should have an immunization strategy against deadly disease. Every country should have a genocide prevention strategy, because we're all going to have periods of shock. Think about even the global north right now. We're seeing economic volatility because of the oil and the challenges in Iran. We're seeing economic volatility because of climate change. And what are governments doing? They're saying, oh, you're in the United States, your problems are because of. And if there's already a history or legacy of dehumanization against specific groups, I think in the global north it's immigrants, it's non-white populations, then we're seeing escalation factors that, again, can't be ignored, can be addressed. That's the other thing. Genocide is preventable. We can disrupt these early cycles through very targeted, specific means and overcome that hate, that identity-based hatred early on in the process to prevent the worst outcomes.
So we're talking with Rachel Miner, founder and CEO of Bellwether International. And I just have to ask, Bellwether International is genocide prevention, right? That's what you're focused on. How does an economist focus on genocide prevention?
For too long, human rights has been solely a legal field. The benefit of having strong law is that we can prosecute criminals. The challenge is that law is triggered after a crime. And the people who commit genocidal acts consider themselves above the law. So Bellwether is innovating a new prevention strategy, which is to say that the law is needful but not strong enough. What motivates the people who commit genocide? It's money. We need economic strategies to prevent genocide. We need economic language to strengthen human rights. And if we use economics, we can not only save human rights and human lives, which is the most important, but we can also save economic markets. Strong economies don't experience genocide.
Jenny, I have to give you one question. We're almost out of time. But Utah Global Diplomacy, a lot of us don't know what that is.
Yes, it's a wonderful organization that's been around for nearly 60 years, founded
Oops.
by... Yes, I know.
I
know. I like to tell people it's the most amazing organization you've never heard of.
Okay, I feel better.
So yeah, you can feel better about that. But it's an organization that was founded to create connection between the people of Utah and people from around the globe. And so this woman wanted to host people here that came to Utah. And so she set up this organization and hosted royalty, hosted exchange students. But her whole idea was just that we needed to foster connection. And that when you have connection, then you can look beyond the headlines and you can look beyond stereotypes and see people for who they really are.
All right. When we come back after this next break, we're going to talk about how faith can impact genocide and really a very fascinating and important symposium that is taking place this afternoon and tonight. Stay with us over this break.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry is the jewelry we never wear. It sits tucked away in a drawer. A ring from a grandmother, a pendant from years gone by. Pieces filled with stories, but not part of your everyday life. Duke's Jewelers believes those pieces deserve more. For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has helped families reimagine heirloom jewelry, transforming what once was into something you'll love wearing today and pass down tomorrow. Whether it's resetting a stone, redesigning a ring, or creating something entirely new, Duke's Jewelers will guide you through every step, right there in the store. And if you have jewelry that no longer fits your story, Duke's Jewelers also buys gold, offering a simple, transparent way to turn it into something meaningful again. Bring in what you have and create something you'll never want to take off. Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville, where your story continues.
Taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement. More than housing, more than healthcare, or anything else. And many retirees will overpay their taxes by tens of thousands of dollars every single year. Learn how you could significantly reduce your taxes in retirement at a free event with retirement tax expert Becky Swansburg on Thursday, April 23rd at 6:30 p.m. in downtown Salt Lake. It's hosted by Boss Retirement Solutions. Becky worked in the White House and on Capitol Hill on tax policy, and she has the inside track on the proven strategies that could lead to a windfall of savings in retirement. This event is free, but seating is limited. So reserve your free ticket now by calling this number, 801-850-6988. That number one more time, 801-850-6988.
For informational purposes only, not tax, legal, or investment advice. Speaker is not a client and does not endorse BOSS. Speaker compensation creates a conflict of interest.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest. A sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877-CARS4KIDS to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to cars4kids.org now or call 877-CARS4KIDS to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
An expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We're spending a special hour today talking about genocide and genocide prevention specifically. We have with us Rachel Miner. She's the founder and CEO of Bellwether International, and Jenny Lloyd from Utah Global Diplomacy. And you really did a good job for both of you setting up what genocide is and a little bit about prevention. But I wanted to I wanted to talk about what is happening today in Utah, and then please include how faith can play a role.
Today we're bringing a special conversation to Utah. You know, we've talked about how genocide, we're living in the age of genocide. It is affecting the world every 2.5 years on average. But Bellwether is really localized in our approach. And so when we think about the most powerful change makers and diplomats in Utah, it's Utah Global Diplomacy. They've been doing this for decades. And we've initiated this strategic partnership with them to talk about why Utah, why now, and why this conversation matters.
I think it's such an important time because I think we're seeing contempt grow. Everybody can agree on that. We're seeing contempt and we're all concerned about it. And so this is a way, this is an organization that helps to just lower the temperature, to just calm things down and to focus more on our shared humanity than on the things that divide us. And I don't know why we get so fixated on those things that divide us, because there's so much that we have in common. So part of our mission is that we bring guests we host guests that are here visiting from other countries. And in fact, we just had a group from Uzbekistan a few weeks ago. But as you sit down and talk with people, I mean, they want to talk about their families, you know, and we connect over our families and the things that we worry about. And it's just, you realize, why do we obsess so much about these things that are different? And so it gives us a chance to focus on our shared humanity and to see how we can be more supportive of each other. And so then when you read these headlines about this nation, you think, well, that may be their leaders, but that's not the people.
Rachel, you talked earlier, when I turned my microphone on, that about how economics affect and can be the precursor to genocide. But for me, just by view of the world, it seems like religion often plays a huge part. You'll see a society where a religion is in power and they tend to sort of depress the other religion. And it goes back and forth. And of course, even on our own, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in its early days, they were forced to flee. I mean, when you talk about disruption, there's a question here, by the way. When you talk about disruption of genocide, how is that different when you're dealing with religious conflict as opposed to economic?
The data shows that genocide actually does disproportionately affect people of faith. So there are cases of genocide where racial groups or ethnic groups have been affected, but when we think about contemporary genocide, it's affecting Muslims and Jews disproportionately. And so there has to be a conversation about faith and genocide. And there has to be a conversation about faith and the power of faith in prevention. So one of Bellwether's major work streams is freedom of religion or belief. This idea that if you hold up and support another person's faith, you're creating social cohesion, you're creating strength, you're creating the kind of interfaith bridges that immunize a society against genocide ideology. Why? Because if one group is attacked, then another group steps in and says, no, that's not okay with us. You can't attack Muslims because we're Latter-day Saints and we care about the Muslims. And whatever happens to the Muslims could happen to us. And Christians largely, you can't do that to Jews. If you do that to Jews, it could happen to us. So we have to think about interfaith and faith as a kind of genocide prevention strategy. And that's part of why the conversation around bridging religious divides is so core to the symposium today. How do we bring global conversations to Utah? Jenny has talked about how this is, a decade for Utah, preparing for the Olympics, preparing for all of these things. Utah's going to be on the front page. How do we make sure that even within our own networks, within our own economy, we are thinking about bridging religious divides? We are thinking about immunizing against genocide ideology. Even if Utah isn't directly affected the way it was in the 1800s by an extermination order, we have Afghan refugees in Salt Lake City. They're coming from a genocide context. We have Sudanese in Salt Lake City. We have all of these groups that are coming here with a genocide fear, with genocide trauma. And we need to be part of a conversation that's not just genocide prevention, but also genocide healing. And I feel that Utah and the diplomacy, the citizen diplomacy efforts of Utah uniquely position us to have those conversations and to work through these divides.
Jenny, could you talk to us about the symposium that's happening this afternoon?
Yes, so it's our third annual Bridging Religious Divides Symposium, and it's happening up at the University of Utah in afternoon sessions, and we have 3 different tracks. Shima Baughman, Baradar Baughman, and she is a friend of mine actually, but she is a law professor at BYU in the Wheatley Institute, and so she has a fascinating story. She came as a refugee from Iran as a child, or as a young girl. Her mother was cast in prison, was a political prisoner there when she was just little. Like, you can't even imagine what that would be like to lose your mom to prison. But they ended up here, and she's just brilliant. And so she's going to be leading one of our discussions. And we also have Matthew Tuller, who was a Foreign Service officer for 40 years in the Middle East. I can hardly hear what is on his mind, his perspective. And then we have... help me with Paulina's last name. Longbarth. And she runs a diaspora museum in Boise State, and she came from Laos as a child, as a refugee. So we have these wonderful perspectives. But our big headline this afternoon is Astrid Tumenez will be there. And we have a special award that we're going to be presenting her with. And she is apparently a dear friend of Lima, who will be speaking, our keynote speaker tonight.
Part of what we hope people will experience and not just learn is actually the tools and resources to be part of the genocide prevention movement. So President Tumenez, a woman of great importance in Utah Valley University, she has modeled her whole career what citizen diplomacy looks like, and then of course our other speakers. Can we give Utah tangible, practical tools to say, I'm seeing dehumanization, what do I do? I'm seeing political exclusion, what do I do? How do we address the issues that are affecting the here and now and then connect Utah to the world so that we can all be part of a larger bellwether movement to prevent genocide?
You mentioned political, what was the word you just used? Where politics play a part in genocide. And it's happening globally, it seems, in ways that we haven't seen, at least in my experience, and maybe it has been. But there's this notion from some of our political leaders, and I'm not just focusing on the United States, that they are coming into our country and they are doing this and they are taking that, and we're getting the worst of the worst. And it's caused this global sort of immigration fear. I mean, what can people who are listening to this, how can they respond to that or listen to that, or maybe, again, this whole disruption that you talked about, how can we disrupt that type of rhetoric?
Absolutely. I want to highlight 2 things. First, all of the greatest challenges in the world are talked about globally, but they're always experienced locally. So when we talk about genocide as a global issue, it sounds big, it's overwhelming, I don't know how to engage with it, it's this huge political buzzword. Genocide happens at a local level. Climate affects the world but happens at a local level. The immigration crisis happens on a global scale but is experienced at a local level. We need to localize the conversation in order to move from apathy to action. So when we're talking about what can people actually do to engage with political rhetoric or some of these other early warning signs, it's thinking about the locality of the issue. We know from a recent political survey that trust is at an all-time low in the United States. We ranked the highest among all countries in terms of social trust. If you want to be part of the prevention movement, the first thing you need to do is get offline and build community trust. And the only way you're going to do that is if your kids are playing on a soccer field, or you're hosting a Utah Global Diplomacy dinner with people who are visiting Utah, or you're sitting in a church that's not your own for an Easter Mass or another kind of religious event. This is how we build trust. And the stronger our community trust, the lower the political rhetoric will become. But what happens online is that there's no accountability mechanism. So you can say whatever you want, whenever you want, and you can't respond in real time. That decreases trust and that increases fear. Get offline and start to build trust in your community, and you'll be part of the solution.
All right. We need you to do us a favor and stay around for one more segment, if you don't mind. I know we signed you up for 2, but we're going to keep you for 3. Stay with us. We'll be back with a further discussion about what we're talking about here at Genocide and Global Utah Diplomacy. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, the Utah Mammoths now know who they'll take on in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they won't have to travel very far. Utah will play the Vegas Golden Knights in round 1. Vegas will get home ice advantage if the series lasts a full 7 games. The playoffs start this weekend, but we're still waiting for the league to release the schedule for the Utah-Vegas series. The Mammoth will play St. Louis tonight to wrap up the regular season. Paid parking is on its way to downtown Ogden.
Ogden's council has had the idea on pause since public outcry erupted in 2024. But now they've created a new map with a smaller area required to pay to park, something they hope will receive less backlash.
I think the benefit of the way this is there's choice to park in Ogden. It's not all downtown. It's not all paid parking. There's choice, right? If you don't want to pay, you just have to walk a little bit. Like I say, looking at this map, I think it cuts back quite a bit.
That was one city official who says he's still open to seeing what revenue projections would be if they expanded parking beyond 25th Street, Kiesel Avenue, and part of 23rd. No official decision has been made yet, but the council said talks will continue. Louise Kelly, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News, one type of Xanax is being recalled.
The FDA has issued a voluntary recall for Xanax XR extended-release tablets in the 3-milligram dose. The warning is because the pills don't dissolve at the standard rate, and because of that, they can lose their effectiveness. People are being urged to stop taking them. Only the 3-milligram version sold at $60 per bottle are affected, and it should be noted that the vast majority of those prescribed Xanax are taking the generic version, which is not affected by the recall. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is up 121 points. That's 0.25%. We're at 48,585. Coming up, a fast-moving storm is moving through northern Utah. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Andy, I like that shirt. Is that a new shirt?
It is. It's from Ann Collar, and it's really rare to find a shirt that looks good and is super comfortable. And this is a fabric unlike anything I've ever felt.
I got one for my husband and my sons, and they watching my 19-year-old put on the Ann Collar shirt and sort of check himself out in the mirror. I thought, wow, he's really digging that. And I can understand why, because it's not just comfortable, it's stain repellent, which I needed.
Oh, my goodness. That is something.
He attracts spaghetti sauce to shirts like you would not believe. And with these Ann Collar shirts, I can get it out.
Amanda, I have to wear a special bib when I eat spaghetti with a white shirt on. But with Ann Collar shirts, it takes those little tiny nicks and stains, and they don't stick to you. Yeah, you don't have to dump a bucket of stuff on you, but it would repel that too.
You've got to try one. So whether it's the traditional white shirt or any of the patterns they have, it's Ann and Collar, and they're made right here in Utah.
If you've never tried And Collar before, we have got permission to give you 15% off at andcollar.com and go get your first. Use the code KSL15.
That's And Collar, ANDcollar.com.
Get your yard ready with Rich Lawn. Spring is here, and it's time to bring your lawn back to life. Start with Rich Lawn Turf Food, an organic-based fertilizer that feeds your soil and keeps your grass greener longer. Looking for professional-grade results? Organic 100 delivers the nutrients your lawn needs to thrive. And for the finishing touches, Rich Lawn has you covered with Iron Rich for yellowing lawns, Easy Green Grass Seed, and Grow Rich Garden Fertilizer. Put in the work, trust Rich Lawn, and enjoy a yard you'll be proud of. Available at Home Depot and independent garden centers.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
My passion is creating a better ride.
Satya Kraus, Kraus Moto owner and Zions Bank client.
Manufacturing premium products takes dedicated people and a great bank. I choose Zions Bank because they see my business through my eyes.
Zions Bank helps entrepreneurs reach and exceed their goals. Visit the #1 small business lender and learn more about our SBA rate discount at zionsbank.com/SBA. Equal housing lender.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. And here's Cormac Bone.
A problem-free drive on I-15 all across the Wasatch Front. No delays both directions between Ogden and Provo. We do still have construction congestion. Eastbound Pioneer Crossing in Lehigh. That starts just about 7800 west and reaches over to I-15. We do have reports of a crash on Bangerter Highway. This is southbound near 3500 south. They are blocking, it looks like a center right turn lane there, but no delays there. It's actually northbound Bangerter Highway where we see a little bit of congestion scattered from about 4100 south all the way up to the 201 freeway. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to stay on the cold side today with rain switching to snow over the next few hours. Then we could see a second wave of snow early tomorrow if lake effect kicks in. But we dry out Friday afternoon and then a warming trend to start the new week. Right now it's 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, we do have an update we want to report to our listeners, and that is President Trump has posted on Truth Social that the leaders of Israel and Lebanon have now agreed to a 10-day ceasefire after officials from both countries met in Washington, D.C. The president has posted that today at 5 o'clock Eastern Time that truce will begin. He said that he had just completed what he calls excellent conversations with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Joseph Aoun of Lebanon. So we'll continue our coverage of these recent developments and how this unfolds throughout the day. This is good news.
Well, and I think it fits right in with our conversation of genocide and maybe at least a discussion. And so we have with us Rachel Miner, again, founder and CEO of Bellwether International, and Jenny Lloyd, who is the board chair for Utah Global Diplomacy. And we're talking about a symposium that's happening later today. But you also just barely teased your keynote speaker, and I want you to please lean into that. Who's your keynote? Because I think it should be front page news.
We have the 2011 Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Lima Gobi, coming to Salt Lake City. She's just arrived this morning. And this is so critical, both to what we've talked about happening on the local level in Utah, but on the global level. And here's why. People do not know how to tackle the most complex issues in the world. And Lima is going to give us a play-by-play for what it looked like to stop a genocide that was part of a 5-year civil war, decades-long conflict even before the civil war formally started in Liberia. And it happened in the early 2000s. We're not talking about a case study from 1600. We're talking about something that's happened recently and started with one woman, no formal training, no background as a peace activist. She started a movement with a prayer circle in her Christian church. And she brought her women together and said, we need to pray to stop this war. Then she said, we need to pray with our Muslim sisters. That became an interfaith prayer circle that they led for a number of months. And eventually, under the direction of a group called WIPNET, the Women's Liberation Movement in Liberia, this prayer circle turned into a movement that took demands to the president. They stopped a civil war and they prevented a genocide.
It's just incredible. So, Nobel Peace Prize winner in Utah tonight. So, Jenny, tell me what you're hoping a Utah audience can take away from Lima.
I think we could learn so much from her experience. I can hardly wait to hear her speak. I read her book last winter, Mighty Be Our Powers, and that was on my nightstand every night. And I was kind of going through a tough time at that. I was recovering from an injury and I was a little blue, but I remember every night just seeing that Mighty Be Our Powers. And as I read about, first of all, my problem seemed ridiculous after reading her story, but just this concept that we can unite together, and when we bring our faith together, that we can accomplish amazing things in quiet ways, really. That she was surrounded by this coercive, horrible power, and she came in at it with a very different approach, and ultimately more powerful. And so I think there's, yeah.
Can you tell us more about the symposium and how it relates to Utah and why Utah? That's a hard question.
Well, we're on the international stage right now in unprecedented ways, and I think people would be surprised if they knew how much subnational diplomacy is happening right now. And I'm surprised. And you just keep hearing from the different sources that people are coming in different ways to Utah for conferences, for business delegations, whatever it is. But then with the Temple Open House coming, they're expecting 3 to 5 million visitors, and I don't know how many of those will be international, but we can assume there will be a lot. And then the Olympics around the corner. So we're just, our presence is growing. And what is exciting to me is we see, like Governor Cox with the Disagree Better campaign. We see the Dignity Index that was founded by somebody here locally. And then Braver Angels, which is a national organization but has a strong chapter here. But we have these wonderful tools to learn how to communicate better. And I think having her perspective and then seeing what can we do, that we can walk away from this today with really tangible ideas.
So we had a texter say, why isn't this symposium at the very top of the KSL news site? It should be there. It should stay there all day. I'm like, I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Right? Because this is a really big deal. And, sometimes, you've already mentioned genocide can seem overwhelming. It is overwhelming. It's such a big problem, it feels like. And I asked you during the break, Rachel, how many active genocides are happening right now in the world. You told me there are 4 that are going on right now. And yet what we're talking about is having someone who solved that problem come to speak to us here in Utah. And I watched a movie that I know you're going to watch also at your symposium. I just watched it last night, the documentary called Pray the Devil Back to Hell. And I think I cried for 95% of the movie. It is incredible, just amazing.
Again, it is a case study. I think I lecture a lot at different universities, and I'm trying to, spread the message of genocide prevention. And people always ask me, how are we going to do this work? I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and there are so many examples. If you go back and truly study the life of these people who have led genocide prevention movements, Lima's film talks about her very humble beginnings and the village that she lived in Liberia. This started in her own home, in her own village, and then how she was able to scale that very practically without international nonprofit funding, without government support. These are movements that grow out of people who are doing this for no other reason than for human dignity and to protect human life. And that's actually the only motivator strong enough to sustain you in this work. When you run out of money, when you run out of support, what's going to sustain you? You have to have that North Star around human rights and human lives. But even beyond just Lima, I think there's a huge information failure in our society right now where we have not learned the lessons of the civil rights era. We have not learned how Martin Luther King also started with an interfaith movement from a pulpit and led the movement to desegregate the United States racially. We have a lot of work to do. That movement's not over. But can we study more closely and more intimately? Yes, we live in the information age. The biggest challenge is going to be people's self-discipline to avoid distraction. Advertising agencies, marketing, social media, they are buying your time. They are buying your mind. And if you fall prey to that, you will become apathetic, overwhelmed, and fearful. But if you resist that, the earliest stage of genocide resistance is choosing to learn from the leaders who have led these movements, learning from Lima, learning from her co-founder, Thelma Ikior, who's now the international CEO of Women for Women International, learning from Vaba, another co-founder that's in Liberia and continues the movement today. These women, and it is often women who lead the movements to prevent genocide, then we really will have the tools that we need, we'll have the case studies that we need to take on these massive problems in our world today.
Jenny, we've got about a minute left, but can you just tell our listeners about the level of collaboration, maybe cooperation between your Utah Global Diplomacy and Rachel's Bellwether International that brought this symposium together?
Yes, it was actually Rachel, I think, initiated this a few years ago, and it's the highlight of the year for me. I think it's just been fascinating to work together, but we are in the prevention mode, and we're kind of coming at different sides of this, but hopefully meeting in a place that is really effective for everyone to really prevent genocide and create more peaceful societies, because we know that when there's connection, there's more peace.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you to let our listeners know if they want to come to the keynote address tonight by Lima and Thelma, where can they find out more information?
This is a ticketed event, so it will not be free and open to the public for respective Lima's time, but you can purchase a symposium ticket. Your registration includes Lima's keynote later this evening. The venue and time are available when you purchase a ticket. You can go to any of Utah Global Diplomacy's social channels to get the registration link for that on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Choose your platform. The information is there. And with the purchase of that ticket, we'd very much look forward to having you. These events will continue, though. So in absence of your presence tonight, follow Bellwether International, follow Utah Global Diplomacy. We'll have a series of other events, including our yearly annual symposium about bridging religious divides.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Trying to make sense of the markets? Looking to diversify out of all the craziness? Thinking about tangible assets like precious metals? Listen to The Gold Show with Alan Johnson right here on KSL at 3 p.m. Sunday afternoons. Stay up to date on retirement trends, how the IRA rollover process works, and why investors are turning to physical gold. Alan is a national talk show host with decades of experience in the markets. Tune in for Alan's Insights and The Gold Show this Sunday afternoon at 3.
Well, I'd finally just had enough of gaining weight, finally had enough of not being able to buckle my pants together, not being able to put my shirts on and button the top button to put my tie on. And I thought I need some help because whatever I'm doing is not working. So I went to SOTA Diet Nutrition, SOTA, and thought, just sign me up. Tell me what to do. Just food they have, no pills, no injections. It's a food program based on good food. The meals are great. I have breakfast, I have snacks, I have lunch, I have snack, I have dinner, I have a snack. It doesn't cut me back on what I eat, but it changes the way I eat, and it changes the way I think about eating. SOTA weight loss has been great for me. I've only been in it for 9 or 10 days now, lost 9 or 10 pounds. I hope to continue that trend. I know that's impossible, but it's worked out really well for me, and I think it will for you too. SOTA Diet Nutrition. You can find out more at sodadietnutrition.com. Remember, join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime. I'm staying with this group as long as I can.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you want to walk, play pickleball, and enjoy other fun activities to stay healthy, but you can't because of bad feet? Hi, this is Mike, and the Good Feet store wants to help.
I just had difficulty walking. I tried them on in the store, and my foot felt so much better.
Do you keep buying new shoes and inserts with little or no relief?
I tried all kinds of shoes. It was the arch supports that made the difference from the Good Feet store.
Don't let bad feet, knees, or back problems get in the way of staying healthy and having fun.
Thanks to the Good Feet store, I bowl in 3 nights a week.
Get back to doing what you love. At the Good Feet store, we'll personally fit you at high-quality arch supports to maximize your comfort. Stop in the Good Feet store or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
All in together now, we can make it better. Can we do it? We rope it up. Cause we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources.
I have to say, Holly, that working on the show, especially working with you, I learned something every day, and I learned a lot with just this last 45 minutes that I hadn't appreciated, because we do live in a cocoon here in America where things are good, and we don't think about the fact that globally there is so much going on and so much suffering going on, and it's easy to disregard that because it just doesn't hit home. And it's also interesting to me to think about the I don't know what the way that genocide generates, the way that it becomes something. And when
it doesn't start with the killing,
right? When we talked about it, I thought, of course, that's what happens. People don't just start killing.
No,
but it takes years and years to build up this idea that these people are bad to you. This other group is bad. That they're hurting you. They're financially hurting you. They're doing bad things, and suddenly the hate almost becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, like Rachel Miner and Jenny Lloyd told us and educated us, that there are a number of steps. It does extend over years, and it just does not start with the killing. It ends with that, right? It starts with otherizing. It starts with talking about people as a they, them, like a different group. They're different from us. It talks and then dehumanizing them. So Rachel mentioned in the Rwandan genocide how one group was called cockroaches. And what do you do with cockroaches? Well, you kill them. Right? You squash them, you stamp on them. And that is, in fact, what happened, right? Once it finally kicked off, and we just talked about the beginning of that genocide, almost 1 million people were killed in 100 days by their friends and neighbors, and sometimes even their own family.
Yeah, people that are neighbors 1 year and going to work together and doing whatever together, and suddenly they're so angry at each other, they start slaughtering one another.
And some of the most gruesome things, like I've read a lot of books, done a lot of study on genocide, and some of the things are so disturbing. Like I can't even talk about them. I can't talk to my husband about them. Like those images live in my head. But the things that people are willing to do to each other, it's just absolutely unbelievable. But this this symposium today is, I think, such an important opportunity for people to have hope, right? That there is hope, that you can stop it. And this movie that I mentioned, it's called Pray the Devil Back to Hell. It's a documentary that was produced in 2008. I could only find it on Vimeo last night. We looked all over at all the streaming platforms because it's a little older, right? And they did not shy away from this genocide. I mean, there were child soldiers, there were children, young boys who said, I killed 3 enemies yesterday. Well, those are 3 human beings, right?
What is
This
the
child
movie?
soldier.
Tell us about it.
So it is a documentary about this effort with Lima Gobi, who is this keynote speaker. Yeah, who has the Nobel Peace Prize from 2011. It's her work there, but this movie is a documentary about that work and how it started. And it describes the sexual assault that happens all the time in wartime, and the killings and the cruelty that came with it. And it was the women of the country, starting with Lima, but the women of the country here are just like, just enough. It's enough. We demand peace. And that's what they kept saying. We demand peace. We want peace. And it grew from a church congregation, and then multiple congregations, Christian congregations, and then it spread to the Muslim women of Liberia, and they worked together. And the president, they would sit on the road. It reminded me of the women's efforts for suffrage in the United States, but they would sit on the road while the presidential motorcade would pass by, and he would just ignore them. And he ignored them and ignored them and ignored them. And he finally said, okay, I'll listen to you. And they said, we want peace. We want you to go to peace talks. And we want the warlords, we want them to go to peace talks. And both sides were just really intransigent. Well, we want the power. Well, we want this. Well, we want that. They have to do this. And he even got to the point, the president did, where he said, he didn't stick to it, but he said, if it would promote the cause of peace, I'd be willing to step down if I were the cause, right, of this problem. And in the end, he actually was convicted of war crimes, and he is still alive, and he's serving basically the rest of his life in prison.
So he was the cause in some respects.
In a lot of respects, right? But this documentary was so powerful about what women can do, first of all, with the peace effort. And that's something that I have found with my research when I was doing PhD research, and, I did international relations as part of it. The peace treaties that hold the best have women at the table. And if you look at what's going on today, the women aren't at the table. They might be on the sidelines, but they are not at the table. And the ones that hold the best have women at the table, negotiating, talking. And I will say this, that these women didn't stop when they finally got the Civil War to end. They kept going, and they were the force behind electing the first female president in all of Africa. And that was Ellen Sirleaf. And she served for a number of years. And one of the things that Ellen said is, President Sirleaf said, is if your dreams aren't big enough to scare you, they're not big enough. And she fundamentally changed just some really ingrained things in the country of Liberia. But that all grew out of this movement of women saying, we are sick of seeing our kids die. We just don't want it anymore.
Tell me the name of the movie again.
Pray the Devil Back to Hell.
Oh, I hearken to one of the most disturbing movies I ever saw, and it was a movie. It was The Killing Fields.
Yeah.
And you watch that movie. It literally it troubled me for weeks. I mean, it was just the hardest movie to watch that I've ever seen, and it was true. It was based on a true story.
Yeah.
And how that society became so entrenched to kill their enemies because of who they were, not necessarily because they had any.
And it's every society, right? And they started in the Killing Fields in Cambodia. They started by taking out what they called the elites, and that happens often, right? They took out the professors, they took out the press. But we do have some good news here also, and that is the news that we heard, that there is a ceasefire that will begin this afternoon, 3:00 our time.
Yeah, the leaders of both Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire. The two countries met here in Washington, D.C. President Trump reported this on Truth Social. He said that it will start. It's odd to me that you'd have a start time for a ceasefire. Like, hey, let's start. Let's just start.
You have to let people on the field know, I guess.
I don't know. Hey, quit shooting. So, yeah, it starts at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so 3 p.m. our time. He said that this is President Trump saying that he completed what he calls excellent conversations with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Joseph Aoun of Lebanon. I didn't realize that those talks were occurring here in the United States because I'm not sure that we would be seen by the Lebanese people as being the most objective, but good for them. I mean, the fact that Lebanon and Israel came here and that they've agreed to that. We don't know the details of what it means. A ceasefire is sort of self-defining, but what it means in terms of ongoing negotiations or where they're going. But at least once you have the ceasefire itself, at least you can say, okay, at least the shooting is going to stop. Now let's decide how we're going to keep it stopped forever.
Lebanon has just been pounded by Israel, and you know that we're in the middle of a ceasefire with the U.S. and Iran, and Israel has said. They were saying, well, Lebanon's not part of that ceasefire. And so this negotiation right here is now making it, I guess, lumped into the whole Middle East conflict and being able to at least take 10 days to have some talks.
Yeah, and we're about 10 days into the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. Of course, that's going to end soon. Maybe we can get extension on that and have ceasefires across the board as we do currently so that we can get some things sorted out in the Middle East and what we're doing with the Strait of Hormuz and how Israel and Lebanon are going to continue working together, if at all. But I think the public, the media, the economy, the oil prices, I think everything can take a breath right now and inhale and say, okay, let's see where this is all leading us.
Well, that was, I think, just a really great conversation that we had, and I appreciate our guests coming in and spending 45 minutes with us to talk about genocide, to talk about disrupting genocide, and to give us hope that there are things that we can do right here in Utah to further that process. I'm looking forward to going to the symposium this afternoon and to listening to the keynote speakers tonight.
And when we come back, this is a victory for 33 states and the District of Columbia. A jury has found Live Nation and Ticketmaster violated United States antitrust laws, and the verdict is huge. It may reshape the live industry music here in the United States. We'll have more from someone who was involved in that personally when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour. Breaking news from KSL, Utah Valley University says it will not have a commencement speaker this year following controversy surrounding its original pick. Several members of Utah's delegation spoke out against author Sharon McMahon over posts she made following Charlie Kirk's death. They say she meant to tarnish his name, but she says that even though they may have disagreed, his death was a tragedy. The university says now that there will be no speaker because of concerns over her safety. We're going to see some snowfall along the Wasatch Front later today. Forecasters say we could start to see the storm roll through in the late morning, early afternoon, but showers could linger into the evening in some areas. And while we'll take any winter we can get, this storm is not going to be able to do much to combat the ongoing drought, other than saturate the soil for a little bit.
Anything is better than nothing, even if it's just moistening things up for a little bit. That will help out some.
That's National Weather Service meteorologist Nick Carletta. All of the state is now dealing with some level of drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. Nearly 60% of Utah is in extreme drought, including much of Tooele County. A frost is expected to hit tonight, and people who planted early gardens are being warned to protect their crops. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Radishes, lettuce, broccoli, and peas should be safe tonight, but USU horticulturalist Ton Bettis says for those who are tempted to plant their whole garden back in March, tonight could be dangerous.
Anybody that has tomatoes in or other warm season crops, if they're not using walls of water or cloches or something to cover the plants, that will give them really good frost protection, and those sorts of things would be in real trouble.
He says the best thing to do is to use some thin blankets to cover the crops and make sure they're secured so they don't blow away. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is up 3 points. That's just a fraction of a percent. Same story for the S&P 500, which is up 7 points. And the NASDAQ is up 58 points, which is about 0.25%. Coming up, the death throes of Jack Frost. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor Mortgages Made Simple. Let's talk conventional versus FHA loans. Both offer cash-out refinances up to 80% loan-to-value or LTV, so which is best for you? It's kind of like Uber and Lyft. I always compare the two before booking a ride. Conventional loans don't have mortgage insurance under 80% LTV. However, the rates and costs get higher with lower credit scores, cash out, and high LTVs. FHA loans always have mortgage insurance, but the rates are lower, they don't penalize you for cash out and high LTV loans, and they allow for higher debt-to-income ratios. FHA often results in lower payment even with mortgage insurance. We can analyze your situation within minutes. Call us today. Fink and McGregor Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer. So, Monty, I wonder if you know someone like this. He's the ultimate DIY guy. Restores classic cars, builds his own deck, and even smokes his own brisket.
Sounds like a talented guy.
He is. But get this, his other weekend hobby is troubleshooting his water softener. He's always down there resetting the timer or fiddling with the circuit board.
See, Doug, that's where I draw the line. Smoking a brisket is a great weekend project.
Yeah.
Fixing an electric water softener is just a chore.
Exactly. He thinks he's saved money by buying the bargain brand, but he's paying for it with his Saturdays.
That's the Connecticut difference. Our systems are premium because they are non-electric and fully automated. No computers to fry, no timers to reset. We install it and you get back to the hobbies you actually enjoy.
If you want soft water, do what I did and leave that to Connecticut. It runs on water power, not willpower. Learn more at softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Here's Cormac Bone.
No major accidents or delays all across the Wasatch Front. I-15 runs clean and clear between Ogden and Provo. It's just normal delays eastbound Pioneer Crossing in Lehigh due to that construction. A little lighter, though, even right now, starting at 7800 West and reaching over to I-15. Connect your kids with nature. Flower gardening is hands-on, time together, and memories. Olson's Greenhouse offers perfect plans for families to grow together. For porches, patios, beds, or containers, visit ogg.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today may be the very last snow of the season, as temperatures will dive tonight to 34 with a 90% chance of rain and snow. Things won't be much better tomorrow with a high of 62, but it'll warm up Saturday onwards. Right now, though, it's 48 degrees and windy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSL News Radio. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, Live Nation illegally monopolized the market for tickets, protecting its position through pressure and leverage, according to a Manhattan jury. They found that in federal court yesterday. In the lawsuit, nearly 36 states, including Utah, claimed that Ticketmaster dominated major concert venues, kept ticket prices high through anti-competitive, what we call antitrust practices. And here's more from ABC's Andrea Fujii.
A win for consumers. That's what state attorneys general say about the verdict that found Live Nation and its subsidiary Ticketmaster are an illegal monopoly. Welcome to the Eras Tour. Highlighted by the fiasco getting tickets for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, the jury in New York agreed with nearly 36 states who argued that Live Nation made nearly every concert for every artist too expensive, as it took over venues and ticket sales, triggering long wait times and leaving millions empty-handed.
So this is an interesting lawsuit. It actually began, Holly, in 2024, the Biden administration and the Biden Department of Justice, and at that time 40 states had sued Live Nation and Ticketmaster for their anti-competitive practices. 7 of those states and the U.S. Department of Justice settled out of court for something like $280 million. You'd think that was a lot of money, but they left a lot on the table. According to this, what we're hearing is that the financial penalty for this particular part of it, the group that stuck around, could be as much as $700 million.
Well, we have the experts to tell us what's happening with that. It's Utah Attorney General Derek Brown joining us on the line today. Thanks for joining us, Derek.
Thanks, Holly. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you, too. So tell us a little bit about what this lawsuit meant and what you can anticipate in the future, because I know it's not actually all the way settled yet.
Not settled, but we have the first part of this lawsuit is the jury coming back yesterday and agreeing with what we've been saying all along, and that is Live Nation Ticketmaster has been acting like a monopoly. And we said this, we brought this lawsuit specifically on that issue. They argued that they're not. Yesterday, the jury agreed with us on every point. And so this is a win for consumers all across the country. I mean, last year, Utah spent something like $400 million on live entertainment. And so this is a huge victory on that. And to your question of what's, where this goes from here, we now enter a phase of the trial called the remedies phase, where we'll find out what are the damages, how much are they going to pay, and what other things will the judge award. But ultimately, this is really the antitrust trial of the decade. I mean, people will be talking about this for decades to come because we frankly have been talking about Live Nation for decades.
Derek, when we talk about antitrust, and you're an attorney, and you were sort of almost giddy about it when I saw you last night talking about the verdict. What was specifically the concern, and why was this brought? Was Ticketmaster and Live Nation just dominating too much of the market for these tickets?
Well, that's certainly part of it. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, we have 315 different lawyers in our office, and we have literally a group of lawyers led by a fantastic lawyer, Marie Martin, who basically they just do antitrust work because that's one of the things that we do. But the ticketing market is controlled, and think about this: roughly 86% of that entire market is controlled by one company, Ticketmaster. And then something else people don't realize, but Live Nation now, as a company, they control venues all across the country. They control the concert promotion. They control the artist management, and now they control the ticketing. So every single aspect of that industry is effectively controlled by one company. And so our argument all along has been they're using that monopoly power to force consumers to pay far more for tickets than they should have to pay. And so that's why yesterday feels like a vindication. And I was a little giddy because we spent a lot of time, and I mean, nobody will know the amount of time my team and myself have spent working with other state AGs to keep this case moving forward and make sure that we got the victory.
So the victory is as to the liability. That is that the jury found that, in fact, there was a monopoly and that they were engaging in anti-competitive practices. And so I want to ask you this, Derek, and that is the remedy limited to finances, or is there a chance that we could see these groups broken up a little bit? Sometimes you see that happen.
Yeah, this is where obviously, Greg, as an attorney, I know exactly where you're going, because yes, we anticipate financial remedies, and as you know, under antitrust law, you can get treble damages. So the amount could be, I mean, we anticipate it'll be hundreds of millions, but the more important remedy is ideally things like what we call divestiture, where we would hope that the judge would look at the structure of the company and ideally break it apart a little so that the normal market resumes. I mean, what we want ultimately is a fair, competitive market. We want a market that works, where there's efficiencies in supply and demand, and people aren't artificially paying too much for their Taylor Swift ticket. But with the current system we have, that's not the case. So I'm hoping that in addition to financial remedies, that the judge will also order other, what we call structural remedies in this case.
So, Derek, let me ask you this question from a consumer point of view. What is that going to mean to my pocketbook overall?
Well, overall, the jury found that on average, because of the monopoly power, people paid an average of $1.72 per ticket more than they should have had to pay. And that's different, Holly, from the if you're just getting online and buying tickets for a concert, there's also, as you know, a lot of, you get to the end and you buy it and it's like, wait a minute, there's a convenience fee and an online fee and a processing fee and a thank you for joining us fee. I mean, there's all these different fees. We call them junk fees. And as a state, we have a separate lawsuit on that issue because that is problematic from a deception standpoint. But what this means is that hopefully this case has highlighted the structural problems with the market. And what we want to do is create most what I want is it's not just financial payment. I want the market to be restructured so it works like a regular market. So ultimately, Holly, if you go and you buy a ticket to a concert, you're not paying more for that concert than you should have to pay.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Utah Attorney General Derek Brown talking about this Live Nation and Ticketmaster ruling. So
it is a significant ruling, and I do appreciate that he's done such a good job, Derek Brown. I really have to hand it to him for the people of Utah. This was something that a lot of states, several states bailed out of. They took the quick money, but Utah,
they did.
To our credit, I think, stood the game and said, no, we want to see this through the end, and the results are going to be big.
So while we were doing our show, news broke that Utah Valley University will not have a commencement speaker this year, following some controversy surrounding its original pick, Sharon McMahon. We're going to talk about how all this broke down and what we know when we come back.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hardworking partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
The Children's Center Utah provides a unique service in our communities by meeting the needs of very young children and their caregivers. Here's another Little Minds Big Hope message from Dr. Jennifer Mitchell, the Children's Center Vice President of Clinical Strategy and Innovation.
Did you know when young children act out, they may be trying to communicate something they don't yet have the words for? Behavior is often a signal that a child needs support. Find out more at childrencenterutah.org.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest.
If he had dumped two, you would have thought maybe there's another one.
But now a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to Jamie Grissom. Binge Stolen Voices of Dole Valley wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the latest breaking news in the case.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Running a small business means juggling a lot. Your network has to handle it all. That's where a fiber-only provider falls short. You need a partner who gives you a greater advantage. Introducing the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A first-ever combination of the largest, fastest fiber-powered network, the most reliable Wi-Fi, gig speeds with equipment and security included, and a 5-year price lock. Plus, it's all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. The Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A new standard for small business with reliability, security, and savings in one. Switch today. Get started with a great offer as low as $60 a month. When you add it all up, no one does business like Comcast Business.
Offer ends 6/1/26. New customers only. Requires 300 megabits per second internet and security edge. 1-year agreement, eco-bill, and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report, May 2025.
911, coming back. What happened?
My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but I've
And
already...
you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement. More than housing, more than healthcare, or anything else. And many retirees will overpay their taxes by tens of thousands of dollars every single year. Learn how you could significantly reduce your taxes in retirement at a free event with retirement tax expert Becky Swansburg on Thursday, April 23rd at 6:30 p.m. in downtown Salt Lake. It's hosted by Boss Retirement Solutions. Becky worked in the White House and on Capitol Hill on tax policy, and she has the inside track on the proven strategies that could lead to a windfall of savings in retirement. This event is free, but seating is limited. So reserve your free ticket now by calling this number, 801-850-6988. That number one more time, 801-850-6988.
For informational purposes only, not tax, legal, or investment advice. Speaker is not a client and does not endorse BOSS. Speaker compensation creates a conflict of interest.
The new Inside Sources.
Well, Utah Valley University says it will not have a commencement speaker this year following backlash surrounding its original pick. Several members of Utah's delegation weighed in strongly against author Sharon McMahon over posts she made following Charlie Kirk's death. They say she meant to tarnish his name. She says that even though they may have disagreed, his death was a tragedy. So what's so interesting to me is the irony of somebody being canceled over Charlie Kirk, and I don't think Charlie Kirk would have agreed with that. But we'll have a conversation about it, and I'm joined in studio by Caitlin Johnston. Greg Skordas had to step out. Thanks for joining me, Caitlin.
You're welcome. And I just think I've been kind of playing catch up on this story because I've seen a lot of the controversy popping up, but I didn't look too far into it because I thought it would maybe blow over. But now it's taken a turn. And I'm just like, on behalf of our listeners and myself, can you just tell me a little bit about who Sharon McMahon is?
Yeah. So Sharon McMahon is known as the country's government, America's government teacher. And she has done for a number of years now she has a social media presence. She has 1.4 million followers on Instagram, where she talks about politics and the country, basically going back even to the founding days, right? Some of the stories we may not be familiar with, but she has these brief lessons, government lessons about how government's supposed to work. She'll talk about how the judicial system is supposed to work. She'll talk about checks and balances. She talks about even characters that we maybe haven't heard of, but we should know, right? So she really hasn't been, in my opinion, super controversial. Now, what happened after Charlie Kirk was shot is she posted originally a video of her crying and basically saying this is a tragedy, this should never have happened, and even if Charlie and I disagreed on some issues or maybe even all issues, this is an absolute tragedy for his family. And I think that sentiment is appropriate. The controversy came when she also posted comments. She posted his own comments, and she said, "It is a tragedy. It should not have happened." But some of these comments have really hurt people.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to figure out, is what was it that kind of made people so upset about this? And I can see with the original thing she put out, that seems very sympathetic, and this doesn't seem. It was definitely not the worst thing I saw out there after Charlie Kirk was tragically killed. But I do also feel like this is a very sensitive topic here at UVU. Just that. So I could see why there was even a question about it, but I don't know. Do you think this has been blown out of proportion a little?
Yeah, and I think it's really ironic that you're going to cancel a speaker because you don't like what they said, right, when you're supporting somebody who basically was on campus to promote viewpoints that he knew not everybody agreed with.
Right, and it looks like she's been actually, the reason she's not speaking is due to more of a safety concern. It's not because of her comments. As far as I've read. But that's a whole other thing is, she's been getting this backlash with, from the Utah delegation, congressional delegation as part of it, along with others. And it's just, after everything that happened with Charlie Kirk, you can't even risk having any sort of backlash with this and that concern.
And I think it's sad. I think it's sad that Utah's delegation felt like they had to weigh in to trash Sharon McMahon. I think that she has done a really great job at educating people, but holy cow, they just really piled on. They say that UVU is tone deaf. They are quoting people from Turning Point USA. And again, she said it was a tragedy. He never should have been killed for his opinion, right? Anyway, I think it's sad. It's going to leave the largest class in UVU's graduating history without a commencement speaker. And they'll remember that, right? They'll remember that.
And I've got some of what, Senator Mike Kennedy is one who spoke out. He said on a post on Wednesday, so yesterday, "This isn't some abstract issue to debate online. It's real for the students here. It shows a lack of judgment in its timing and a callous disregard for what the community has gone through." As you mentioned, Celeste Malloy was one who said this was a tone-deaf decision. Representative Burgess Owens also called for a reversal of the decision in Duggan to UVU for choosing McMahon. He said the decision was morally bankrupt. I'm reading this from, I think it's a KSL.com article. It's either that or Deseret News. I have two in front of me. So
yeah, and I don't think that's fair, right? Yeah. I don't think it's fair to say it's morally bankrupt to ask Sharon McMahon to come. So Sharon McMahon came out to Utah a couple of years ago, and I wrote about the speech that she gave at UVU then. This was in the fall of 2013. And I'm telling you, the entire arena was packed. People gave her multiple standing ovations, and she does have quite a following here. And I think one of the things that's important to note is to say that UVU students are a monolith, that they all think the same thing. It's not true. Yeah. Right? We know that there has been some proposal to say we're going to have a monument to Charlie Kirk, and there are students on campus saying, no, we don't think that's appropriate. Yeah. Not everybody agrees, right? Not everybody is a member of Turning Point USA. Not everybody is a member of the college Republicans, but they certainly have been loud, and at this point have created enough, I think, a concern for her own safety that she's not going to come.
And I mean, as many, that's kind of a part of the point that you've mentioned is we all may disagree on different things with that, but I do think that we all were impacted by this tragedy as well. and we don't want to have another one like this. One thing that I believe this is from UVU that it kind of stood out for me. I believe they put this out last week when this was kind of rising, this controversy. Sharon unequivocally condemned the murder of Charlie Kirk repeatedly and publicly, calling his death a tragedy and stressing the public debate must never be met with violence. Oh, this is from her spokesperson. I apologize. Sharon's goal is to unpack what is happening in society and help people understand how government works. Do you feel like we're still kind of at a standstill with that? Like kind of that civic debate that we need to have?
I mean, we just don't know how to talk to each other anymore. And in fact, we just spent an hour talking about how do you get to the point of genocide? Well, it starts by otherizing different groups and saying, well, they all want that, right? This is terrible. This is horrible. This is bankrupt, right? Those types of words have consequences, and enough so that they fear for her safety coming to campus. So look, Astrid Tumenez, this is her last graduation. She's stepping down, I think, in 2 weeks, the beginning of May. She called Sharon a force of nature, a force for good. And I think our graduates are very lucky to have her as their commencement speaker. And this was a few days ago. But I have to say this too. This is not the first time that UVU has faced criticism for who they picked as their commencement speaker. So in 2021, they selected Wendy Watson Nelson, who was the wife of Russell M. Nelson, who was then the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And people protested that choice.
I didn't know about that.
Yep.
Which sometimes in these situations, you really can't win. I think that most of the time when commencement speakers are chosen, it's really people who have made an impact. And hopefully not super controversial, right? You don't want to, but you never know. You never really know. You're never going to find someone who's perfect in the eyes of everybody.
You're probably too young to remember Michael Moore, but I remember when he was protested, right? He was invited to come speak on campus, UVU, I think. This would have been maybe 90s. And people were like, no, you can't have that guy come to our campus.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we are losing the ability to sit with hearing from people that we may not agree with 100%.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, there's no way Sharon would have had controversy in her graduation speech.
Yeah, and that's the thing is something I've just learned in my life is, you can judge someone based off of a headline or a quick social post, but and we're actually going to talk about, social media and fake
news.
Misleading news. I'll say that. I don't like fake news. But it's just you can judge someone's surface level, but it's really you got to give people a chance. I feel the same way with Charlie Kirk. Like you don't really know somebody just based off of a soundbite and things like that you may see. So I don't know. As I said, I didn't know much about Sharon McMahon until I just spoke with you, honestly. So I guess I'm glad that they're taking safety precautions because that's a learning lesson and we just have to be careful. But I do worry about kind of where we're at with society today.
Yeah, and I worry that the message that it's sending is as long as you put up a big enough stink, you can cancel anybody.
Yeah, that's cancel culture is real. Yeah. And we just talked about that as we started the show with what's happening with some Utah politicians. So.
Yes, we did actually. And, social media may come back to bite you. But
yes, be careful.
Oh my goodness. So thank you for that conversation. And there is a lot of misinformation in the world. So it's a great tee up for the next segment. Actually, we're going to have a conversation with Jennifer Graham on how to spot real quotes and how to spot real news and fake news and how to work with your kids on basically being discerning news consumers. It's an important skill that too many of us are lacking. Stay with us.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour. A man ticketed for honking his horn during a protest says it's his First Amendment right. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
It was during a No Kings protest in January of this year. Jack Hoops says he didn't lay on the horn or use it enough to distract traffic. He pressed it 3 times to show support to the protesters lining the streets of 400 East. But right after, he got pulled over. He tells the Salt Lake Tribune the officer accused him of illegal horn use. It is true that illegal horn use is a thing and is in place to prevent drivers from using unnecessarily loud or distracting horns in traffic. Hoop says the law does not apply to this scenario, and it was an expression of his right to free speech. He's hoping to fight the ticket when he goes to court in July. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Businesses surrounding Hill Air Force Base say it is disappointing, but they completely understand why this year's air show is postponed to next year. The Lynn family that owns and runs Moe's Southwest Grill off Antelope Drive says they'll miss seeing all the customers that come with the show.
We always look forward to the air show every year. You know, it's one of those best times where everyone comes through the state.
The air show brings in an estimated $50 million to the local economy, with around 250,000 people visiting each day of the show. The Utah Mammoth know who will be taking on in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they won't have to travel very far. Utah will play the Vegas Golden Knights in round 1. Vegas will get home ice advantage if the series lasts a full 7 games. The playoffs start this weekend, but we're still waiting for the league to release the schedule for the Utah's Vegas series. The Mammoth will play St. Louis tonight to wrap up the regular season. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is currently up 44 points. That's just a fraction of a percentage. The S&P 500 is up 10 points, another fraction. And the NASDAQ is up 64 points. That's about 1/4%. When Dean Martin sang "Let It Snow," I'm sure he didn't mean April. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Call Trajan today at 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
We want to talk about SOTA Diet and Nutrition. SOTA stands for state of the art. And Andy and I both let go of massive amounts of weight. You more than me.
70 pounds in 5 months.
And I did 37 pounds in 3 months. And what worked for me was so many things. Talking to a nutritionist every week and having her tell me what to eat. I can do as I'm told.
Yeah.
But I have no clue where to begin.
And I needed the help too. It's just food. There's no pills, no injections. So you learn how to both let go of the weight and then how to keep it off.
So SOTA Diet and Nutrition is a great place to start. But if you started with pills or medications and you find yourself starting to gain some weight back, SOTA Diet and Nutrition is a great way to learn how to have a new relationship with food to go into the future.
You can talk with a nutritionist by calling 866-800-SOTA, S-O-T-A, or you can go to their website, SOTADietandNutrition.com.
Join now and your partner joins for free. 2 people, real accountability for the price of 1.
Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime.
When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. Fast forward to today, and the U.S. dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold has increased in value by over 12,000%. Central banks are buying gold at record levels. Major firms are holding significant positions in gold. And I choose to buy gold from Birch Gold Group. Stan Bongino, and it all starts with education. Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. Sign up to get free silver on your next purchase if you qualify. And you can get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But act now. This special event only runs through April 30th. So text my name, Dan, to the number 989898 to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Text Dan to 989898 today. Message and data rates may apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
We don't have any major delays or accidents on I-15 between Ogden and Provo. It's a calm drive, but we do have some city street incidents. There's a crash in Davis County on Antelope Drive. This is westbound just after 1000 West. and it looks like they're blocking a right shoulder. They may have even pulled away as we speak. And then we also have Salt Lake City Police Department reporting a couple of crashes in Salt Lake. The first is at 400 North, 400 West, and the one likely in cleanup stages is at 9th East and 3rd South. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Potential snow today, followed by temperatures in the 40s tomorrow before things rocket through the 70s this weekend to a high of 78 on Monday. Right now, though, it looks like it's about 48 degrees with mostly cloudy and some wind. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
After a downed U.S. pilot was rescued in Iran, a photo began circulating on social media. It showed the Air Force officer supposedly surrounded by other troops with a U.S. flag in his lap. Well, the rescue was real, but the photograph was not. So it's a question that I have to ask myself every day is what I'm looking at. Is this fake? Is it AI? Is it, or is this actually real and legitimate? And I have on the line with me Jennifer Graham. She writes for the Deseret News. In fact, she's the culture and ideas editor. And Jennifer, you just wrote a story about, is it fake news or real? How you can help your child and yourself know the difference. So thanks for joining me on this.
Sure, happy to. It's an important topic.
And, you know, you and I are both in the media business, and I don't know about you, but I've been told I'm fake news. It's like, well, okay, I'm giving you my opinion. Right? Yes, pretty much every day. Yeah. No, as I share my opinion. But if I'm writing a factual story, like I'm double checking my references, I'm going to primary sources, right? What made you really dig into this issue about the where we're at right now in today's media landscape?
Well, two reasons. I mean, one reason as I included in that article, is that Utah schools just got a pretty large size grant from an initiative called the News Literacy Project, in which schools are being incentivized to teach young people the basic kinds of skills that reporters know, or should know anyway, about how to tell if something is real or not, and how to identify authentic sources of news. And then even if you have an authentic source of news, we all know even legitimate news outlets make mistakes. So everybody from students to adults ought to have these skills. And then the other thing is the image that you mentioned has been on my mind ever since it came out, because to this day, I'm not 100% certain that if it's real or not. I mean, it's pretty much been debunked. I think the Reuters fact-checking service, they pronounced it as there is no evidence that this is true. But until we're actually introduced to the airmen, we don't really know, right? It appears to have been AI generated, but I don't know, possible, maybe somebody had a photo and leaked it and then pulled it back. I don't know. But that just shows the landscape that we're in today. It is so hard to know 100% if something is true.
You know, we live in a different time than maybe when I was growing up, and we had 3 television stations, right? And we had Walter Cronkite, that's the way it is, right? And people assumed that information was going to be accurate. I have asked my own kids where they get their news, and I asked my daughter, she's 22 now, but I asked her a couple of years ago, where do you get your news? Her answer was TikTok. And I said, well, how do you know that it's accurate? And she goes, because I like this guy. Right? I'm like, okay. So what is your best piece of advice, or the people that you were interviewing, for what consumers of news, how can we tell, or how do we go and double check that what we're reading is actually accurate?
Well, unfortunately, the first piece of advice people give is also the hardest, which is to slow down, to take some time before digesting information and accepting it to be true. And, of course, none of us want to slow down, right? We get faster and faster every day in terms of how we process information because there's just so much of it out there. But, in a lot of cases, fact-checking the veracity of something is pretty simple, but it does involve doing something that is called lateral reading, which means going to other sources even as you are reading something. One of the websites that I mentioned in this article is called newsdetective.com, and it's a crowdsourced fact-checking site where people can go and weigh in on whether something on social media was accurate or not. And in the video that they have teaching people to fact-check, they had an article that was headlined, Americans are spending more money on pets than they are on children. And the narrator takes you through how she fact-checked that article and found it to not be true, that it was just a catchy headline that got slapped onto a story which was about spending on pets. But, so many people saw that headline and probably repeated that to 10 other people, and it turned out not to be true, whereas what you needed to do was go to 5 or 6 other websites to find out that article wasn't true, and who has time for that? So, there's that. Then there are, one of the people that I talked to made it clear that there is a science to fact-checking, that it's not just that you weigh it through your own partisan lens, but there are a few active steps you can take to discern veracity of something, and people just refuse to do it. But you can go to that website, newsdetective.com, and also to the News Literacy Project website, and they have suggestions on how you can become a more thoughtful consumer of news.
Yeah, I think that's important, and that lateral checking is something I do when I put together the Utah Policy newsletter every day. I'm going to multiple sources, right? And there's one source that is like pretty well known for celebrity gossip, but I will never post anything from them until I can see it verified from some other source that I consider more legitimate. Sometimes they're right, but sometimes they're not, right? And so I'm out looking and making sure I can double check that information.
And that's something that they pointed out in this video that I watched, is if it is true, there's probably another headline out there already, because news spreads so quickly. If something is true, other outlets pick it up right away. And if you just do a simple Google search on something and no other verification comes up, you might want to keep checking.
What is something we can do as parents to help our not only our younger children, but maybe even our young adults become more discerning consumers of news?
Well, the News Literacy Project is grappling with that question right now. And what they're doing is they're going into schools and they're basically teaching the fundamentals of fact-checking. And they're also teaching kids about why a free press is so important in democracy. The problem with that, you get up against, a lot of people don't trust the sources of the news organizations that are promoting these kinds of projects. So it is smart to avail yourself of the knowledge of how to investigate, say, what a central claim of an article is, and to things that your kids may already know and parents may not, is how to do things like a geolocation to track down where a post comes from. And I will confess to my own failing in this department, because I recently got taken in by a viral social media post that showed a donkey defending her foal against the fox. I don't know if you saw that. It was wild on social. Yeah, well, I got sucked in by that because I own a couple of donkeys, so it was material catered specifically for me. I was the algorithm. And, it took my daughter to say, let's look a couple of places here, and wow, it turns out this video actually originated in China. And, if you're looking at something that purports to be, say, a farm in Minnesota, and the source of the information is another country, that's a pretty good hint that you might not be looking at real news, but fake.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for that information. We're going to have to, that's an evolving topic we'll have to stay on top of. When we come back, this is not fake news. It's about to get cold. We're going to check in on the weather for the rest of the day and what we need to know about a potential freeze warning. KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank will join us next.
Andy, I like that shirt. Is that a new shirt?
It is. It's from Ann Collar, and it's really rare to find a shirt that looks good and is super comfortable. And this is a fabric unlike anything I've ever felt.
I got one for my husband and my sons, and they watching my 19-year-old put on the Ann Collar shirt and sort of check himself out in the mirror. I thought, wow, he's really digging that. And I can understand why, because it's not just comfortable, it's stain repellent, which I needed.
Oh, my goodness, that is something.
He attracts spaghetti sauce to shirts like you would not believe. And with these Ann Collar shirts, I can get it out.
I have to wear a special bib when I eat spaghetti with a white shirt on. But with Ann Collar shirts, it takes those little tiny nicks and stains, and they don't stick to you. Yeah, you don't have to dump a bucket of stuff on you, but it would repel that too.
You've got to try one. So whether it's the traditional white shirt or any of the patterns they have, it's Ann Collar, and they're made right here in Utah.
If you've never tried Ann Collar before, we have got permission to give you 15% off at AnnCollar.com and go get your first. Use the code KSL15.
That's Ann Collar, ANDCollar.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Take the first step. Visit CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Junior Achievement of Utah and Idaho's mission is to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in a global economy through a variety of programs. Joining us to discuss a new initiative aimed at reimagining high school education nationwide is President and CEO Christy Tribe.
When business leaders, educators, and junior achievement areas unite, high school students gain the tools, confidence, and applied insight they need to effectively shape their future. That's the vision behind 3DE, a new program offered by Junior Achievement. 3DE is an innovative education model redefining how students learn. Through real business challenges, students work in teams to solve authentic problems from actual companies. Along the way, they build durable skills like critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and adaptability. We may not know exactly what tomorrow's jobs will look like, but we do know this: durable skills transfer across roles, industries, and careers. 3DE helps students see the relevance of what they are learning today and how it prepares them for what comes next. We are excited to bring 3DE to high school students in Utah, connecting education to the real world in meaningful ways. Learn more at ja-utah.org and 3deschools.org.
Junior Achievement is bringing innovative learning opportunities to Utah, helping prepare students with critical thinking and career-ready skills. Their work empowers the next generation. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Right now, water heaters are on sale at Any Hour Services. Schedule a free estimate today to see how much you'll save. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
It's getting cold outside, at least it looks that way, and we have this weird snow in the forecast. So we have on the line with us KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Hey, Holly, how are you?
I'm good. I think it's a little chilly, though, and I wanted to know, is there snow?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's snow. In fact, it's snowing right now, moderate snow up in Logan, rain in Ogden, and that frontal boundary is coming to Salt Lake. So it's going to be here between 2 and 3 o'clock this afternoon, and it's going to come in with a little rain, but then it's going to flip over to snow fast, and we're going to get a little snow burst here in the Salt Lake Valley, and then it will slide into Utah County but by the evening commute. But folks who are trying to go over Point of the Mountain and into Utah County a little early in the afternoon commute are going to run into that snow, and it's going to be slippery and tricky. The good news is it's fast, super fast moving. The majority of the front will be in southern Utah tonight. We'll have a few lake effect snow bands overnight and tomorrow morning, but very minimal accumulation.
So how often does it snow like the second half of April? I know it's not all that unusual.
No, it's actually fairly common. So we generally get snowfall all the way through the end of April, even sometimes into May. So the general rule, right, for planting and freezing and other things is Mother's Day. So it's generally the second week of May before we really shut those things down. But generally, like this storm, fast-moving, light snowfall amounts. It melts off quickly. More of an inconvenience, really, than a major issue. And this storm looks to be very similar. Intense for a little while, lots of snow, and it's going to look snowpocalyptic. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Then it's gone, and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
So how much accumulation are we expecting?
Less than an inch in Salt Lake City. And an inch to 2, maybe up in the most favorites benches when we get some lake effect going. But the problem is going to be this, Holly. When you throw down a half inch to an inch on the roads really fast, it's going to be slippery, and especially in the higher elevations, any canyon travel at all. Right now, if you're trying to come through Sardine, oh my gosh, it's crazy from Logan to Brigham City. And so the same thing will happen up Parley's later in the day and up Provo Canyon later in the afternoon and evening. So if you're doing any canyon travel, just be aware it is going to be slick. And on the roads, just slow down, give yourself space, turn your lights on, and you're going to be fine.
What about the commute tomorrow morning? I'm asking for myself.
Yeah, no issues other than a little southeast of the lake. So it looks like we're going to see a few bands, really probably from Bountiful swinging down over towards Cottonwood Heights. There'll be a little bit of snow that's coming off the lake, but not accumulating snow for the valleys, just those snowflakes in the air and then a little accumulating snow up in the mountains.
And then one last question I have for you. This is moisture. We need that. How is it going to impact the drought that we're in right now?
No significant impact from this particular storm, but every little bit helps. So in order to get out of a drought, you need a series of storms to accumulate over time. And so each one helps. It puts water in the ground, but definitely not a recovery storm at all. It's going to take as long as it took to get into the drought situation to holistically get out of the drought. So it's a long process in, and it'll be a long process out.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that information. I have Caitlin Johnston in the studio again with me because Greg Skordas is trying to beat that storm as we speak. And Caitlin, I have to share the story with you. I saw it on KSL, but I think it is so funny. A St. George neighborhood is trying to find a runaway tortoise, and maybe we can say a plod-away tortoise because it is a turtle, that escaped. And so they're like putting down salad stuff. They're putting down peppers, trying to get this tortoise to come back to its home.
Where is this?
In St. George.
It's in Utah.
I must have.
Okay, I have so many questions. How did this tortoise get out, and why is it running away?
Well, the owner doesn't know for sure how it got out. So it's an 11-year-old tortoise. It's not a desert tortoise. And they're a little bit worried that some people are going to see this and say, oh, you belong in the desert, and put her back out there. Aww. She's 11 years old. She's been with this owner for 3 years. And she has a little spirit of adventure, the owner said. And so they found her in the street a couple of weeks ago, put her back in the backyard, but now they can't figure out where she went. So the first thing they do is scour the yard, see if she's hiding in there. They didn't find her, and now they've got the whole neighborhood, and she's a turtle, so she can't go very fast.
So people just
have tortoises in their backyard as pets. I didn't know. Maybe it's more a normal thing in the St. George area. What would you do if you just saw a tortoise walking around on the street?
I would probably assume it was a desert tortoise.
I would
actually
have no idea. I would be like, "Where'd you come from? This is insane." I don't know.
So part of the story that's funny, she has her own shed. It's insulated for the winter, and she lives in the backyard. And here's another thing that's funny. Her name is Yertle the turtle. But that was a Dr. Seuss book, and I used to read it to my kids. And Yertle the turtle, he was a naughty boy. He actually was the king, and he just thought all of the other turtles should make a tower so that he could see. And then he said, everything I could see, that's my domain. And then a little turtle at the bottom burped, and the whole tower fell down. But Yertle the turtle is a Dr. Seuss story.
Well, I just hope they find this. It's a female turtle. Is that what you just
said?
Yeah,
she's a girl.
I just hope they find the little gal, because we hear about, runaway cats and dogs, but you don't really hear about tortoises very often. And I hope that they find her.
I hope so too. And they're looking at the shelters and things. They're also offering a reward, $200. But if you want to go help look, they're asking for help. You can find that story on KSL.com. So anyway, I thought that was really funny.
That is a very interesting story.
I have some fun facts for you today if you want to hear some. So today is actually National Eggs Benedict Day.
I am such a super fan of Eggs Benedict. I cannot even tell you. Every time I go to a new restaurant and have brunch, even if it's not brunch time, I don't care. I will try the Eggs Benedict because I'm just addicted to them. And I'm just critical of how they're cooked. And so if it's cooked wrong and the egg is not right, I have some problems with
I'm critical of the sauce. So it's one of our go-to breakfasts in our families. It's very popular in our home. And I make a homemade hollandaise sauce in the blender. And I can go to restaurants and say, that's from a mix. I don't like that.
Yeah. What's in your sauce?
So it's So basically it's super easy. It's egg and lemon juice, mustard, and then melted butter. And doing it in the blender, then I don't have to mix it by hand, right? Which is the original recipe. Is like, who wants to do that? But the blender does it. In fact, we just made it. We use hollandaise sauce for asparagus, for artichokes, and then for Eggs Benedict.
Now I'm hungry. But that sounds way easier than I thought it was to make hollandaise sauce.
It's really easy. It's really easy. So National Eggs Benedict today.
Yum.
And I've had some fancy ones, seen some fancy ones, like you go and they're gourmet and they've got like, I don't know, asparagus on them. Speaking of asparagus. Anyway, so today is April 16th, and on this day in history, Natural Bridges National Monument was established. These things happen in April. It was in 1908. On this day in 1958, Rosalind Franklin died. And I wonder if you know who she is.
I should. Why don't I? I feel like I do.
I think most people don't know her.
The name sounds familiar. I'll pretend
So she died of ovarian cancer. She was only 37 in 1958. She was an English chemist, and she co-discovered the structure of DNA. But guess whose name was left off all the scientific papers?
Her name.
Yeah, her
Probably.
name. Yeah,
her male
colleagues. Her male colleagues were left on, and she was left off. But she was one of the people. I know, right? She was one of the people who discovered the structure of DNA. Also on this day in 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. wrote a letter from a Birmingham jail. That one was a little bit of a barn burner, I'll be honest, right? He was calling people to task. One of the things he said in the letter, he said, "We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people." Like he was just saying, look, and those of you telling us to wait, we're tired of waiting. And I mean, it's one of his most famous letters, but he did not pull punches.
Yeah, no, and I I was speechless for a second with that.
So another fun fact of the day is it was 1973 before a black woman became a mayor of a decent sized U.S. city, and her name was Lila. I want to say Lila, but it might be Lilia Foley. She became the mayor of Taft, Oklahoma, but 1973. It feels like it wasn't that long ago, right?
I love hearing your fun facts about women making history, honestly. That is part of my favorite thing from those. But yeah.
Okay, well, here's one more, and then we have to go to Maria. But